Chapter 68 Reactions from all parties, accountability from the Sun God Palace. After Lin Yinhua left, Ouyang Zhang looked at Yu Russian, raised his eyebrows, and said, "You didn't lie?" No, Yu Russian smiled bitterly, this was indeed true. Then do you know something? Ouyang Zhang's eyes were deep and his tone was a little low. Yu Russian remained silent, after all, it would be a bit shocking if he said it out loud. Ouyang Zhang did not continue to ask questions and continued talking to himself. Seeing the Sun God Palace suffer makes me feel better, they lost so many disciples this time, this old man will definitely be punished when he returns. Oh, by the way, I forgot to ask you, how did you escape from the Blood Demon King? Ouyang Zhang's eyes were burning with curiosity. Yu Russian shook his head and said slowly. He didn't escape, the Blood Demon King was killed. Oh? Could it be that an ancient powerful being awakened in the secret realm and helped you? Ouyang Zhang was a little surprised and guessed. No, Yu Russian shook his head again. Who killed him? Ouyang Zhang asked with a shocked look on his face. A person with double pupils, Yu Russian slowly uttered these words with an extremely serious expression. Hearing these 3 words, Ouyang Zhang's face changed drastically, his eyes were filled with shock, and for a moment, he was even a little speechless. He seemed to know why all the disciples of the Sun God Palace were wiped out. The Chu family? Miss, I'm glad you're all okay, the elder of the Chu family sighed. Being able to save one's life from the hands of the Blood Demon King was truly a blessing in disguise. It can be said that he is extremely blessed, even if this Blood Demon King has not reached his peak, he is not someone these people can deal with. In this light, it doesn't make sense that all the disciples of the Sun God Palace were wiped out. By the way, I gave a place in the Chu family's immortal treasure to the person with double pupils, Zhu Yan said in a flat tone. After hearing this, Zhu Yan's old eyes widened, and he seemed a little surprised, with a flustered tone. Miss, the Chu family's immortal treasure quota is of great importance, how can you give it to someone else so easily? If you regret it now, it's not too late. Zhu Yan shook her head and said softly. Do you know why we are safe and sound? Because the Blood Demon King was killed by the Double Pupil man and that 9th rank woman, to be more precise, he was killed by the Double Pupil man alone. What? Zhu Yan's face was filled with shock, his expression was stiff, and his eyes were full of disbelief. Moreover, the person with double pupils has an unparalleled aura and seems to have mastered the legendary Thunder Emperor's magic. If we can win him over, the benefits to our Chu family in the future will be unspeakable. Zhu Yan said softly, her tone full of sighs, and countless thoughts in her beautiful eyes. Zhu Yan was shocked, his pupils shrank slightly, each and every one of these events was impacting his experience of thousands of years. I didn't expect that such a real dragon would appear in East Shenzhou. They all made a mistake. Miss, you did a great job. When the head of the family finds out after we go back, he will definitely praise you. After a long time, Zhu Yan came to his senses and spoke. So, those disciples of the Sun God Palace are also him? Thinking of this, a hint of disbelief appeared in Zhu Yan's eyes. That's right, if the Sun Palace takes action later and saves the one with double pupils. Zhu Yan did not answer, but gave an order. Yes. Zhu Yan also said respectfully. To be precise, the leader of this 9 heaven secret realm is Chu Yan. Over at the Sun Temple. At this moment, Lin Yinhua and another elder of the Sun God Palace were also busy, they split into 2 groups to inquire and obtained a lot of information. It turns out that Lan Lingtian has a younger brother who was killed by a person with double pupils. I just found out about this. After the 2 of them reunited, Lin Yinhua spoke in a low voice. No wonder Lan Lingtian was so excited when he heard the name of the person with double pupils when he first came here. Song Zhong was surprised when he heard this, and then he told what he had learned. I just asked the geniuses who went into the core of the underground palace. They said that the one with double pupils killed the legendary Blood Demon King and got the last chance. Lin Yinhua's face was filled with shock, as if he had heard something horrible, and his tone was shocked. How is this possible? If this is true, then we have seriously underestimated those with double pupils. That's right, my disciples of the Sun God Palace were most likely killed by those with double pupils. Song Zhong said with extremely cold eyes and a gloomy face. The next moment, the 2 of them burst out with their cultivation and fled towards the flying boat of Tianyuan Mansion. Seeing these 2 people move, everyone started talking about it. They flew towards the one with double pupils. Could it be that the disciples of the Sun God Palace were killed by the one with double pupils? Someone said in disbelief. After hearing this, the others looked at each other with shock in their eyes. You are the one who killed my disciple of the Sun God Palace, the one with double pupils. Lin Yinhua stood in the void and roared, and the pressure of the God King realm on his body pressed directly towards the flying boat. The sound was like a loud bell, instantly resounding throughout the entire northern territory. Dare to do it but not take responsibility for it? Come out. Song Zhong said in a deep voice with cold eyes, suppressing the anger in his heart. Killing someone means paying with your life. If I don't kill this man today, I'm afraid I won't be able to give an explanation to the palace master. For a moment, the entire northern territory was in turmoil, and countless eyes were cast here. Oh my god, it was actually someone with double pupils who killed a disciple of the Sun God Palace. He was a genius ranked 50 on the heavenly ranking. I heard from a friend who entered the core of the underground palace that those with double pupils had the last chance. I don't know if it's true or not. Yes, they even said that the one with double pupils killed the Blood Demon King. I think that's a bit far-fetched. Everyone was talking about it, and the focus was on Nangong Chen. The next moment, 2 figures appeared from the flying boat. They were Nangong Chen and Nangong Wendian. Nangong Chen had a cold expression, his black hair was flying, his white clothes were rustling, and when his double pupils opened and closed, there were visions of the destruction of heaven and earth. He had an invincible aura about him, like a natural king. Nangong Wendian showed disdain on his face, holding a broadsword in his hand, his eyes flashing like lightning. The aura on his body was extremely strong, the sword intent soared into the sky, and the power he exuded was even more powerful than theirs. When Lin Yinhua and Song Zhong saw Nangong Chen, they were filled with murderous intent and their blood rushed to the sky, as if they had seen their mortal enemy. One with double pupils, you hid yourself so well that you even killed the Blood Demon King. If I hadn't asked, I'm afraid you would have escaped today, Lin Yinhua said coldly. As soon as these words were spoken, the faces of the people listening below changed and their pupils shrank slightly, as if they had heard something horrible. What? The one with double pupils actually killed the Blood Demon King? That's an existence that even a saint can't destroy. Chapter 69 Nangong Wendian takes action. After hearing this, the other geniuses were also shocked. The Blood Demon King was actually killed by Nangong Chen. Is this guy still a genius of the same generation? That means that the legendary supreme opportunity in the 9 Heavens secret realm has also been obtained by Nangong Chen. Everyone originally thought that the geniuses from East Shenzhou were just coming to the 9 Heavens secret realm for a mere formality, but they didn't expect a freak like Nangong Chen to appear. Whoever said that our Eastern Divine Continent's geniuses didn't want to? Stand up. Slaying the Blood Demon King, he surpassed all the evildoers on the heavenly ranking of Central Shenzhou. Throughout history, I'm afraid that Nangong Chen is the only one in Eastern Shenzhou who can do this. You're wrong. Think about it, the Taoist partner of a person with double pupils also possesses a divine body with supreme talent. For a moment, these Eastern Shenzhou geniuses were extremely excited and spoke with fiery eyes. After hearing this, the geniuses from other states did not dare to speak out, their faces filled with shame. Most people had been bad-mouthing them before, but they had not expected that Nangong Chen would slap them in the face. But some people sneered and shook their heads in disdain. It's just a lucky chance to kill the weakened Blood Demon King. Anyone can do it. That's right, but now it seems that the person with double pupils has killed a disciple of the Sun God Palace. I'm afraid it will be difficult for him to leave the Northern Territory today. After all, there is no force in Eastern Shenzhou that can compete with the Sun God Palace. What a pity. It seems this land is destined to be home to no evildoers. After hearing this, Lu Ruyan's expression kept changing, first from shock to worry. Yes, Nangong Chen killed the disciples of the Sun God Palace, and they will definitely not let Nangong Chen go. Moreover, the forces behind Nangong Chen may not be able to protect him. What should we do? Lu Ruyan was extremely anxious, her beautiful eyes full of worry. All this was caused by her, and she didn't want to see Nangong Chen fall into such a situation. In the void. Escape? I'm not a hypocritical villain like you guys in the Sun God Palace. I've lived an upright life. Why should I compromise? Nangong Chen said in a cold voice. His pupils were blazing and his aura was no less than theirs. You. Just tell me if you were the one who killed their disciples of the Divine Palace? Hearing that he was being ridiculed, Lin Yanhua said angrily. Oh, it was just a matter of convenience. I originally just wanted to rob and get away, but who knew that your Lan Lingtian hated me so much and attacked me right away? There was nothing I could do. Nangong Chen said helplessly, looking very innocent. When these words were spoken, not only the two elders of the Sun God Palace were stunned, but even the people below were stunned. What did they hear? Someone with double pupils actually robbed the Sun Palace? This was the first time they had seen such a fierce person. But what made them curious was why Lan Lingtian hated people with double pupils so much when they met for the first time and attacked them as soon as they met. Lin Yan's blood boiled, his words became unsteady, and he gritted his teeth and said, "It's all because you killed his brother." Song Zhong on the side was also very angry, his beards trembling constantly, and his eyes were fixed on Nangong Chen. Is this the first time I've heard of someone robbing the Sun Palace? Are you even talking like a human? After he finished speaking, everyone's faces suddenly realized that this was the reason. There were smiles in their eyes. Did this person with double pupils really not know, or was he pretending not to know? But Lan Lingtian was really miserable as he was robbed by his own enemy. At the same time, they were extremely impressed in their hearts. This man with double pupils was really a super ruthless person. It was not enough for him to kill his brothers, he also wanted to reunite them. Robbery? Ahaha, well done. Nangong Wentian laughed loudly, feeling very proud, as if he was indeed a descendant of the Nangong family. You are really going too far. I have already informed the masters in my divine palace to come. Even if you grow wings today, you will not be able to escape death. Lin Yanhua said coldly that this boy was too evil and must not be allowed to grow up. I am soaring across the world, who can stop me? Nangong Chen smiled, with a confidence that looked down on the world. He had the secret of traveling with him, and as long as he wanted, no one could catch him. But he didn't plan to escape, and Tianyuan Mansion was not without support. The worst that can happen is we just have a fight. Arrogant boy. Attack. Lin Yanhua's eyes were cold and he shouted. As soon as they finished speaking, the two of them burst out with their cultivation power. Their aura was extremely powerful, and it was like a red sun, burning brightly in the spiritual sea. This is the unique skill of the Sun God Palace, which is very domineering and powerful. I'm just waiting for you to take action. Nangong Wentian laughed loudly, with a hint of bloodthirstiness in his eyes. In an instant, the broadsword in his hand burst out with endless red light, and the murderous intent soared into the sky, and the power was earth-shaking. The void trembled, and the fluctuations released by the powerful God King were enough to change the faces of everyone present. Miss, do you want to help now? Shu Yan asked when he saw this scene. There's no rush yet. The strong man next to the one with the double pupil should be able to hold on for a long time. Wait until they are most desperate, then step forward to help. This is the only way to win their hearts. Shu Yan's beautiful eyes flashed and she spoke softly. After hearing this, Shu Yan was filled with admiration. The young lady was so sophisticated that they could not even catch up with her. At the same time, his eyes were filled with sadness when he looked at Nangong Chen. Such a good young man, but he was being plotted against by the young lady again. But it's not bad to be able to be used by the Chu family. Of course, if Nangong Chen knew what they were thinking, he would probably just want to laugh. Seeing a battle between powerful people breaking out, everyone watched intently, afraid of missing anything. After all, they can learn something from it too. The sun is in the sky. Lin Yanhua shouted, standing in the void, clasping his hands together, a terrifying aura burst out, the power surged, condensing into a fireball like the sun, smashing down towards the two of them. Song Zhong did the same. Raising his hand, a raging sea of fire erupted, a terrifying force that could burn everything in the world. It swept directly towards Nangong Wentian. Although the two of them have only reached the late stage of Divine King cultivation, their moves are extremely similar and can even be superimposed together to unleash even more terrifying fluctuations. The power is approaching the peak of the God King realm. That's it? Nangong Wentian sneered, protecting Nangong Chen behind him, then holding a blood-red broadsword, stepping into the void, facing it alone. In an instant, an extremely huge blood-red sword light appeared. The sword intent was extremely shocking. It rushed straight into the sky, even splitting the sky in two, and slashed towards the endless sea of fire. Boom! An extremely powerful wave spread, making everyone's faces turn pale and their hearts shocked. Is this the battle between the gods? Lin Yanhua and the other man looked uneasy when they saw the knife coming towards them. Their moves were actually cut off at the same time and rushed straight towards their bodies. Song Zhong burst out his skills and quickly dodged the attack. Lin Yanhua was actually cut into two halves by this knife, and blood flowed all over the place, which made him terrified. Nangong Chen was also a little shocked when he saw this. Is his second uncle so strong? Chapter 70, Capture a God King for you to kill. This is not over yet. Two cross-like blades rushed over again, with incredible power, as if they were going to tear the sky apart. Lin Yinhua's body, which was split into two halves, suddenly flashed with white light and quickly came together. He urged his spiritual power and dodged to the side. I really underestimated you. You are so powerful. Lin Yinhua said breathlessly, his face pale. Obviously, the recovery of his body just now had consumed a great deal of his spiritual energy. Song Zhong was the same, his eyes filled with shock. If it was an ordinary strong man at the peak of the God King realm, he might have died just now. Unexpectedly, this guy's sword intent was so amazing that he could even tear apart the sea of fire. When a cultivator reaches the level of a divine king, their physical body becomes extremely difficult to kill. They are considered immortal. To kill them, one must first sever their physical body and then destroy their spirit. This is the true way to kill them. Nangong Wendian spoke softly, and it was obvious that he was talking to Nangong Chen. Nangong Chen nodded. He benefited a lot from this kind of battle between gods, not to mention having someone to guide him. When Lin Yinhua and the others saw the scene, their faces turned extremely ugly, as if they had eaten shit. I didn't expect that this guy in front of me would teach them while fighting with them, and he didn't take them seriously at all. The people below were also shocked when they saw the scene. What is the origin of that person with double pupils? How could the protector be so powerful? That seems to be his second uncle? I just heard him call him that. So, the power behind the person with double pupils is also very powerful. At this moment, everyone was shocked by Nangong Wentian's fighting ability, and they all speculated about Nangong Chen's origins. Forget it. I'm afraid you won't understand. I'll kill an old thing and show you. Nangong Wentian smiled, very cheerfully, and then with surging blood and energy, he stepped on the void, erupted with a huge sonic boom, and slashed towards Lin Yinhua. Several black lines instantly appeared on Nangong Chen's forehead. What do you mean I don't understand? It was obviously you who wanted to kill me. Forget it, let my second uncle pretend for once. When Lin Yinhua saw Nangong Wentian rushing towards him, his face became extremely panicked and he shouted loudly. Song Zhong, save me. He alone could not withstand Nangong Wentian's murderous offensive. At the same time, Lin Yinhua was also flying towards Song Zhong, pushing his speed to the extreme. Song Zhong was stunned, then flew towards Lin Yinhua. At this moment, neither of them thought that Nangong Wentian really dared to kill them. Just when the two were about to meet, Lin Yinhua looked up and saw a dazzling white light. The flashing cold light made him feel cold. Brush. The next moment, Lin Yinhua struck again, and his body was cut in half again, and bright red blood scattered in the void. The physical body fell directly down, and a soul was pulled out of it. The little man's face turned pale and he fled in panic. Nangong Wentian did not stop because of this. He raised his hand and swung his sword. The blood-red sword intense soared into the sky and rushed straight towards the soul that looked like a villain. You dare. Song Zhong was also shocked after seeing the scene. Boom. Nangong Wentian did not stop, but increased his strength. In an instant, the power surged, and layers of sword intent poured down, completely annihilating Lin Yinhua's soul. A powerful god king from the Sun Palace has fallen. Good nephew, have you learned it? Nangong Wendian said with a smile, his face was very elegant. Even though blood was splattered on every knife, his green robe remained spotless. I've learned it. At this moment, Nangong Chen nodded seriously. He really learned how to kill the god king. If he had the chance, he would kill one for fun. When outsiders saw the scene, they felt it was unbelievable and their jaws dropped. My mind is full of question marks. I'm afraid these two uncle and nephew are both perverts. One dares to teach, the other dares to learn. At this moment, the whole audience was silent and everyone's pupils shrank slightly. It is hard to imagine that the reason for the death of a generation of powerful god king was that this man with a knife wanted to teach his nephew how to kill the god king. Nangong Wentian smiled with satisfaction and said, in that case, I will capture a god king alive and let you kill him. Try to see how it feels to kill a god king. Then, he looked at the remaining Song Zhong, his eyes full of scrutiny. Good. Nangong Chen nodded heavily, feeling very excited. The world was shocked by this crazy uncle and nephew, and no words were available to describe it. Crazy, really crazy. However, these are not things that ordinary people can do. If you don't have the strength, you will be a clown laughed at by everyone. This also indirectly reflects Nangong Wentian's confidence in his own strength. Song Zhong's legs were trembling, and he felt uneasy under the gaze. He gritted his teeth, and a powerful aura burst out, with an unyielding look on his face. Just when everyone thought he was going to resist, he suddenly pulled his legs apart and ran away. Nangong Wendian had also anticipated this early on. At the moment Song Zhong moved, a figure appeared even faster and more fiercely. The broadsword fell, the blade flashed, and the sword intent reached the sky. Such a powerful attack actually frightened Song Zhong so much that he abandoned his physical body, and his soul flew out at an extremely fast speed. After seeing this scene, Nangong Wendian became even more excited. The soul was easier to kill and would not pose any danger to Nangong Chen. Nangong Wendian threw the bloody broadsword directly towards Song Zhong's soul. That's enough. At this time, an old figure appeared in the void. His aura was as deep as the abyss, and the pressure he exuded was enough to shake the heaven and earth. This is actually a quasi-saint. He waved his hand, and endless divine light fell, trying to save Song Zhong. When everyone saw the scene, they were also shocked. Another powerful being has arrived. With such an aura, could this be the reinforcements from the Sun God Palace? It was even more powerful than the pressure from the man with the broadsword. Could it be that this old man was a quasi-saint? Someone is sneering. It seems that the outcome today is set, and those with double pupils will definitely die. The gap between a quasi-saint and a god king is as huge as the gap between heaven and earth. Seeing this, Zhu Yan narrowed her eyes and said, Lord, prepare for rescue. Xu Yun on the side nodded and was about to go up. In the void, another powerful wave appeared, runes flashed, and divine light tilted down, directly dispersing the divine light. Suddenly, a figure walked out from the sea of clouds. This person had a hunched body, deep eyes, and an extremely old face. It was Nangong Chen's protector, Mulao. It's you. The quasi-saint of the Sun God Palace was also shocked when he saw him. Down below, Song Zhong saw the divine light fade away, and panicked for a moment, shouting, "Save me." Unfortunately, the next moment, the blood-red broadsword pierced through his body, leaving him with an extremely weak spirit. Chapter 71, Killing the God King, Jin He's Conspiracy. Where are you going? Nangong Chen laughed excitedly, grabbed the hilt of the knife, and cast a spell of immobilization, wrapping around Song Zhong's soul. "Come on, nephew, kill him." Nangong Chen shouted towards Nangong Chen. "You will be punished for your actions." Song Zhong said in a cold voice with a gloomy look, his spirit becoming weaker and weaker. "Retribution? Kill me if you dare." Nangong Chen raised his eyebrows and said arrogantly. "You." Song Zhong's face turned pale at this moment, and he was very angry. He never expected that he, a great god king, would be humiliated like this. Nangong Chen was dressed in white, with an extraordinary temperament. He stepped on the void and slowly came over, saying in a cold voice, "If you had not attacked today and had retreated, I would have spared you. Unfortunately, you are seeking your own death." As soon as he finished speaking, Nangong Chen's pupils became bright red, and a burning light burst out from them, carrying an extremely terrifying power. Boom! You dare! In the void, the quasi-saint of the Sun God Palace saw this scene and couldn't help but widen his eyes and shouted angrily. He swung his palm towards Nangong Chen, and divine light shone down, transforming into a giant golden palm that actually shattered the void. French words surged out, vast and boundless. "Jin He, you dare to attack the young master in front of me? You're courting death." Mu Lao's eyes were cold and his tone was full of murderous intent. The fact that he could call out the other person's full name meant that they had met each other a long time ago. The next moment, an even brighter divine light appeared, and a landscape painting scroll appeared, which was directly sacrificed in the void with great power. Thousands of divine rays evolved from the landscape scroll, and huge tree trunks rushed out from it, directly crushing the giant golden palm, leaving everyone dumbfounded. Jin He was also furious when he saw this and asked, "Why are you trying to stop me? Is a small force worth risking your life for?" "A small force, ha! We have different ideals and cannot work together. Now that I have retired from the martial arts world, my only mission is to protect the young master. If you try to stop me, I will see if you have made any progress over the years." Mu Lao responded without any sign of wavering. "Ah!" At the same time, with a scream, Song Zhong's soul was completely shattered by this gaze, and another god king fell. "You are simply unforgivable." Genie's hair stood on end and his eyes were red as he spoke. In all these years, this was the first time he had seen someone who was so against the Sun God Palace. The last person who opposed the palace of the Sun God had grassed 2 feet high on his grave. When everyone saw this, they widened their eyes, unable to believe what they saw. The person with double pupils actually killed a divine king. Even though this happened while being captured by Nangong Chen, it was still very shocking. For Nangong Chen, this will increase his invincibility and forge the heart of a strong man. When he grows up in the future, with his talent, who can stop him? Do we have to continue fighting, someone's side? You should know that 2 god kings have died in battle in the Sun God Palace today. At this moment, no one dared to underestimate this monster from East Shenzhou anymore. In the Xiantian domain, perhaps only the top forces can send out quasi-saint protectors. This also made them very curious about Nangong Chen's life experience. In the crowd, Lu Ruyan saw so many powerful people around Nangong Chen, and her worries were completely put to rest. Fortunately, Nangong Chen doesn't have to die. At this moment, on the Chu family's side. "Miss, it seems I don't need to take action today," Shu Yun said embarrassedly. "Nonsense, do you need to tell me that?" Shu Yan rolled her eyes and said unhappily. Nangong Chen actually had a quasi-saint protector, which was really beyond his expectation. "I didn't expect that this man's background is so mysterious." "Very good, you have successfully attracted my attention." Shu Yan licked her red lips, a playful look in her beautiful eyes. "It seems that we will meet again soon. Let's set off and go home." Shu Yan turned around and said lightly. "Yes." Shu Yun said respectfully. In the void. Although Jin He was extremely angry at the moment, his mind was very calm. He knew that in the current situation, if he faced Mu Chuan alone, there was a high possibility that he would be defeated. His eyes flickered, but he didn't make a move. He was thinking about something. Suddenly, Jin He saw a high-spirited young man not far away, and his eyes flashed with brilliance. He could see that this talented young man was the core of this group of people. If he was caught, wouldn't the problem be solved easily? As a veteran quasi-saint, he spotted the turning point at a glance. Mu Chuan looked at him cautiously. Jin He's moves were very strange and his techniques were diverse, so he had to be on guard. Suddenly, Jin He moved, his aura was as deep as the ocean, his hands turned into claws, his power surged, and he turned into a pair of golden dragon claws, attacking Mu Chuan. Countless golden magical powers surged, and a terrifying dragon might press down. This is the legendary heavenly martial skill, the Dragon Claw. Below, a strong man recognized it and muttered. At this moment, after hearing this sound, everyone finally understood. This quasi-saint turned out to be the golden quasi-saint of the Sun God Palace, whose invincible dragon claw made him famous in central China. He is at the forefront among the quasi-saints and is very powerful. I don't know if the protector of the person with double pupils can handle it. Muchuan also knew the horror of this move, and had to use the Kaishantu again to deal with it. The mountains and seas are shaking. The next moment, in the beautiful painting of mountains and rivers, Taoist patterns flowed and magic power surged. In the void, towering ancient mountains and endless seas appeared, facing the attack of the Dragon Claw. The power it unleashed was equally as strong, not inferior to Jinhe, or even stronger. Even so, Jin he sneered after seeing this, then turned around and rushed towards Nangong Chen quickly. I killed your Taoist pride today. I hope you won't mess with the Sun Palace again in the future. Jin he said in a cold voice as if announcing to the world. Not good. Muchuan's eyes widened, somewhat unable to believe that Jin he would use such a dirty method. In an instant, he burned up his life, reacted as quickly as possible, burst out with unprecedented speed, and rushed downwards. Young master must not get into any trouble. On the flying boat, Su Li and the others also changed their expressions. Their pretty faces turned extremely pale in an instant, without a trace of blood. Husband. Owner. When the people below saw this scene, their faces became extremely nervous. But some people were sneering. You with double pupils, there is nothing you can do now, your protector is not around. Nangong Wendian alone cannot stop a quasi-saint. Luruyan's face turned pale and she didn't dare to watch the next scene. Chapter 72 The Ghost-Faced Woman Returns Home. Of course, the most nervous people at this moment are Nangong Chen and Nangong Wendian. Faced with such terrifying power, Nangong Wendian couldn't help but feel fear and his face turned pale. He alone cannot withstand such power. However, he still fought hard, because he couldn't bear to witness the death of his nephew. Run! Nangong Wendian shouted, pushing Nangong Chen away for several miles. Nangong Chen felt helpless and flew back secretly. He has mastered the secret of the world's ultimate speed, so he can actually escape. Forget it, since my second uncle is dying later, I will take him away. Nangong Chen secretly decided in his heart that he would activate the secret of movement and drag Nangong Wendian away. Come back to your senses. Nangong Wendian gripped the broadsword tightly, and a burst of red blood energy burst out from his body, rushing straight into the sky. The sword intent condensed and became real, and actually evolved into a blood sword in the void. This is his most powerful sword move, a heavenly martial art, heaven-hating. The aura emanating from this blood-red giant sword was so terrifying that it even vaguely seemed to be approaching the early stage of quasi-saint. It took everyone by surprise. When Jinhe saw this, he was stunned for a moment, but still sneered. Alright, you two will die together today. Killing you will also be considered as eliminating a great enemy for our Sun Palace in the future. Immediately afterwards, the golden dragon claw appeared again, the void trembled, and the pressure it exuded was not something that a simple quasi-saint could match. The condensed blood-colored broadsword shattered upon encountering the golden dragon claws and rushed straight towards Nangong Wendian. There is no way. The gap between the two is too huge. Nangong Wendian can achieve this level, which makes him a peerless genius. He was extremely satisfied. He couldn't help but feel happy when he thought about two promising people dying in his hands. What he liked most was to slaughter these geniuses who had not yet grown up. You dare! At this moment, a clear and pleasant voice sounded, with a strong murderous intent in the tone. Everyone looked up and saw a beautiful figure appear in the void. She wore a ghost mask on her face, looking like she was laughing and crying. Her eyes were like stars, runes were intertwined around her body, and divine light was entwined. Behind her, there were strange visions, and the starry sky and universe were revolving there. The ghost-faced woman made her move, and as soon as she finished speaking, the golden dragon claw instantly disappeared. Boom! In the blink of an eye, the extremely powerful Jinhe turned pale, his eyes were full of fear, his body seemed to be imprisoned, and he stopped involuntarily. The next moment, he turned into a bloody mist. At this moment, the whole audience was stunned, everyone was shocked, and there was silence. When Nangong Chen saw it, a look of surprise appeared in his eyes. This woman was very strong, stronger than anyone he had ever met, including his saintly grandfather. In a single thought, he could make a saint disappear. Which saint could do that? However, what puzzled Nangong Chen was why this woman wanted to save him. When Su Li and the others saw this, they finally felt relieved. Fortunately, Nangong Chen is fine, but who is this woman? At this moment, Su Li glanced at Nangong Chen and found that he looked confused, which made her even more curious. Who could this powerful woman be? In the void, the ghost-faced woman looked at Nangong Chen, a hint of doting appeared in her eyes, and she said softly, You must continue to become stronger, and you will know everything in the future. After saying this, the woman with a ghost face disappeared into the void. Nangong Chen's pupils shrank slightly, and a hint of excitement appeared on his face. He actually felt a sense of closeness between the blood in his body and that of the woman with the ghost face. In other words, the ghost-faced woman was his relative. She was from his mother's lineage. Thinking of this, Nangong Chen was extremely curious and wanted to catch up and ask where his mother was now. Ever since he was born, his father had always avoided talking about his mother. When he traveled through time, he was extremely sad, thinking that he had lost his mother since childhood. Unexpectedly, the appearance of this woman now told him indirectly that his mother was still alive. Nangong Chen clenched his fists. According to what the woman said, he would know everything when he became stronger. At this moment, his inner desire to become stronger reached its peak. Let's go back to Tianyuan Mansion, second uncle. Nangong Chen smiled brightly and said. Nangong Wendian saw how he looked just now and was about to ask him what happened, but the words stopped in his mouth and he didn't say anything for a long time. Well, let's go. You must be tired after this trip to the Nine Heavens secret realm. Nangong Wendian did not ask any further questions. He smiled and said frankly. Young master, it's all my fault for being negligent. Please punish me. Muchuan also arrived and said with a guilty look on his face. Nangong Chen looked at his few black hairs turning white, his expression was a little complicated, and he said. It's okay. I don't blame you this time. Look, I'm still alive and well. The next moment, he took out 3 precious medicines from the Tianyuan spiritual steel and handed them to Muchuan. Muchuan was panicked and quickly refused. No, young master, this medicine is extremely valuable. You don't need to use it on me. I'm fine this time. Nangong Chen was not surprised either, and only said half-jokingly, you have worked hard this time, please accept it. After all, it will help you better protect me in the future. But 3 plants are 2. Accept it. Consider it Shunner's love for you. After all, he has always treated you as his grandfather since you were a child. Nangong Wendian also advised at this moment. After hearing what the two said, Muchuan fell silent and then took over. Suddenly, he said, young master, the luckiest thing in my life is to protect you. Muchuan's tone was extremely sincere and his true feelings were revealed. I really hope to live to see you grow up. Yes, I will definitely see it. Nangong Chen smiled, his tone extremely firm and with a hint of confidence. Muchuan was stunned and said softly, yes, you will definitely see it. At this moment, the entire northern territory was shaken by the appearance of this ghost-faced woman. He could kill a quasi-saint in a single thought. Even the strongest person in the world might not have such power. Moreover, this person seems to be related to this person with double pupils. If this news were to get out, I'm afraid no one in the entire Xiantian domain would dare to provoke Nangong Chen. At this time, everyone was speculating about who this woman with a ghost face was and the power behind the person with double pupils. It seems that the rise of those with double pupils will be unstoppable from now on. The true dragon of East Shenzhou has finally emerged from the abyss. With his talent, he will be more than capable of reaching the top 10 of the heavenly ranking in the future. Everyone sighed leisurely. From today onwards, the reputation of the person with double pupils will resound throughout the entire Xiantian domain. However, what kind of reaction will the Sun God Palace have after knowing this? Ha ha ha. At this moment, someone suddenly thought of something and laughed. Everyone shook their heads. Given the nature of the Sun God Palace, they were probably not going to let this matter go. I just hope that those with double pupils at that time would be as lucky as they are today. Chapter 73, Routines have always won people's hearts. A few days later. Tianyuan Mansion. In the void, a huge flying boat, gushing with rays of light, was slowly descending. Below the flying boat, there were many figures surrounding it. These were all members of the Nangong family. At this moment, regardless of gender, age, or status, they all had fiery gazes on their faces. They had long known about Nangong Chen's heroic deeds in the Nine Heavens secret realm. He single-handedly suppressed the other geniuses of Shenzhou and even killed the legendary Blood Demon King. Any one of these items alone is exciting. It can be said that this time Nangong Chen has brought great honor to Tianyuan Mansion. Even among the leading few people, the supreme saint who had not appeared in the world for a long time, Nangong Yu, Nangong Chen's grandfather, came out to greet them. Nangong Zhan's face was filled with pride, and he kept muttering, my son, Nangong Chen, has the qualities of a saint. Soon, the flying boat landed and Nangong Chen and his group walked out. Nangong Chen was dressed in white, with fairy light surrounding him. He had an extraordinary look and temperament, like a banished immortal who had descended to the earth. As soon as he appeared, countless tribesmen screamed. Beside him, Suli stood shoulder to shoulder with 3,000 silver scattered on her shoulders. She had a beautiful face, delicate features, and a cool temperament, like a fairy from the sky, and was also praised by many people. Behind them, Wang Yuxuan and Zhou Wanner's looks also attracted many people. As for Nangong Wendian, he was originally a general of the Northern Territory. This time, the Nine Heavens secret realm ended, so he naturally did not come with us and stayed in the Northern Territory to clean up the situation. Young master, be mighty. Spread the name of our Nangong family. The goddess is also divinely powerful. Assist the young master in killing the Blood Demon King. These tribesmen were shouting wildly, with expressions of worship. What goddess? Can she speak? That's the young mistress. Now it seems that the two of them are really a perfect match, a fairy couple. Of course, some people also joked. As soon as these words came out, Suli's ears, which were covered by silver hair, couldn't help but blush, and she complained. Your Nangong family is too enthusiastic. You'll get used to it. Nangong Chen responded calmly. Having experienced such a big scene, he has long been immune to it. Father, Grandpa. Nangong Chen greeted the two of them when he saw them. Suli on the side also spoke politely. Not bad. Nangong Zhan nodded with satisfaction. The more he looked at these two people, the more they seemed to be a perfect match. Good grandson, good granddaughter-in-law, it's all Grandpa's fault for not being considerate. I've let you suffer this time. Nangong Yu, who was standing by, touched their heads and said with some guilt. Then, with a fierce look on his face, he said harshly, of course, this vengeance can't be let go so easily. If anyone dares to bully his grandson, he will not be called Nangong unless he kills those saints next time. Nangong Chen shook his head and said, I didn't suffer any injustice. All the disciples who came here were killed by my grandson, but I am still safe and sound. As soon as these words came out, Suli smiled with a smile in her beautiful eyes. The corners of Nangong Yu and Nangong Zhan's mouths twitched, and there were some black lines on their foreheads. It seems to be true, so does that mean they are the bad guys? Forget it, never mind, let the bad guys be bad guys. That's good. We would rather hurt others than get hurt ourselves. In that case, we've prepared a celebration banquet for your return. Coincidentally, it's almost time. Nangong Zhan laughed, then looked at the veiled Zhou Wanner behind him with some curiosity. I wonder who this girl is? Why does she look familiar? She is the seventh princess, the friend we made this time. Nangong Chen said lightly. Oh. I see. Nangong Zhan gave a meaningful smile. He naturally knew Zhou Wanner's life experience. Now that he saw her being brought back by Nangong Chen, he couldn't help but guess a lot of things in his mind. It seems that this guy is even more romantic than when he was young. No. When he was young, he didn't even dare to be romantic. Thinking of this, he suddenly felt a little envious of Nangong Chen. When Zhou Wanner heard herself being mentioned suddenly, a hint of nervousness appeared in her dead eyes, as if she was meeting the head of the family. Soon, she was shocked by her own thoughts. She and Nangong Chen were not in that kind of relationship, so why would she think of this? By the way, there is something I need to trouble you with, father. The coffin of the seventh princess's mother is in the royal family. Nangong Chen said slowly, winking at Nangong Zhan. Simple. Nangong Zhan was about to blurt out two words, but after seeing Nangong Chen's eyes, he instantly understood. This matter is somewhat difficult. After all, there are countless experts in the Great Zhou royal family, and they have arranged various spies on the Great Zhou king. If there is any slight disturbance, it will alert the enemy. Nangong Zhan hesitated for a while and said with some concern. If you want to take it out, I'm afraid you'll have to pay a heavy price. After hearing this, Zhou Wanner felt heartbroken, her pretty face turned pale, and her beautiful eyes were dim. Could it be that Tianyuan Mansion would pay such a huge price for her? Obviously, it is impossible. If she were Suli, maybe she would have a chance. When Suli and Wang Yuxuan saw this scene, they felt a little sorry for Zhou Wanner. But they did not say anything. After all, this was the decision of Tianyuan Mansion, and they had no right to influence it. I'll pay no matter what the price. Nangong Chen said after thinking for a while. After he finished speaking, Zhou Wanner was stunned. She raised her head tremblingly, and looked at Nangong Chen with tears in her beautiful eyes. You'd better think about it carefully, the price is very high. Nangong Zhan said seriously with a serious expression. Well, I've thought about it. No matter what the cost. Nangong Chen seemed to have made up his mind. Okay, then don't regret it. Nangong Zhan shook his head as if a little angry, and then left angrily. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that he actually didn't want Nangong Chen to make such a big sacrifice. But no one noticed that Nangong Zhan secretly gave Nangong Chen a thumbs up before leaving. Zhou Wanner was even more moved in her heart. For a moment she didn't know what words to say to express her gratitude to him. Her delicate body kept shaking, her beautiful eyes were a little red and swollen, and she looked worried and pitiful. Suddenly, Nangong Chen's hand rested on Zhou Wanner's fair hand and held her. I always keep my word. Don't worry. I will never let your mother sleep in that evil place. Nangong Chen stared at her dazed eyes and spoke. Such a warm touch and these words that touched her heart directly broke through Zhou Waner's last line of defense. She threw herself into Nangong Chen's arms and started crying. Nangong Chen felt the soft and plump body in his arms, and thought to himself that it was not good, he had gotten out of control. There was no other way. He suppressed the murderous gaze beside him and gently patted Zhou Waner's shoulder, comforting her. Okay, we are friends. Isn't this what we should do? He emphasized the word friend in his tone, and Su Li's cold gaze finally softened a little. Wow, you are so nice. You are the best person to me besides my mother. Zhou Waner sobbed, looking pitiful. Her mother once said that if someone treats her as well as her mother treats you, then he is your true love, your destined partner, and you must cherish him. Thinking of this, a feeling of affection suddenly arose in Zhou Waner's heart. After a long time, a faint voice was heard. Although the voice was extremely beautiful, Nangong Chen couldn't help but shudder when he heard it. How long are you two going to hug each other? Su Li asked, looking at them expressionlessly, secretly clenching his fists. Wang Yuxuan on the side looked at them with a playful look, with an extremely evil smile on her lips, and she wished that the two of them would quarrel. He. Fire. Fire. Wang Yuxuan kept muttering in her heart. Chapter 74 Talking Ginseng. After hearing this, Zhou Waner also separated from Nangong Chen with a red face. Seeing that his body was covered with wet patches, she looked a little guilty. Why don't you give me your clothes and I'll wash them for you? At this moment, her attitude towards Nangong Chen was completely different from before. After hearing this, Nangong Chen quickly shook his head and said, No, the servants will wash it. If he gave her the clothes, his life would be in danger, and he would be jealous too. Seeing that the two were still being affectionate, Su Li's beautiful face suddenly darkened, and the light in her beautiful eyes almost faded, as if she was about to turn evil. Fortunately, Nangong Chen was observing at all times. When he realized something was wrong, he immediately ran to Su Li, grabbed her hand, and intertwined their fingers. The party is about to start, my lady, you weren't jealous just now, were you? Nangong Chen held her tightly, led her forward, looked into her eyes, and joked. Feeling such an intimate touch, Su Li's face flushed instantly. She turned her head away and denied, Who is jealous of you? Zhou Waner stared at the backs of the two people, feeling a little unwilling in her heart, and her beautiful eyes dimmed again. But Nangong Chen already has a Taoist partner, and my mother never told me what to do in this situation? Is there really no hope for me? Who says it's not okay for others to have a Taoist partner? At this moment, Wang Yuxuan on the side spoke up, holding a collection of novels in her hand. At this time, Nangong Chen and the other person had already walked away, leaving only two people left there. Are you talking to me? Zhou Waner tilted her head and asked in confusion. Wang Yuxuan glanced at her and said in a serious tone, No, I'm reading the story above. What story? Zhou Waner was a little curious. After all, the sentence just now touched her heart. Wang Yuxuan curled her lips, thinking to herself that she had taken the bait, and then handed the novel collection over. Okay, take a look for yourself. Zhou Waner flipped through the pages eagerly, her beautiful eyes gleaming with brilliance. Oh, I see, I understand. After Zhou Waner finished reading, her face flushed slightly, and she pleaded, Yuxuan, can you lend me this collection of novels? After hearing this, Wang Yuxuan happily agreed, Okay, I have more here, come and get them when you're done reading. Her eyes flickered with an inexplicable meaning. You are so kind, thank you. Zhou Waner's eyes lit up and she said excitedly after hearing that there was something else. No need to thank me. We are sisters, this is what I should do. Wang Yuxuan waved her hand and said casually. He successfully recruited one person to join the group. Wang Yuxuan thought to herself. If someone saw the name of that book at this moment, they would definitely be shocked. On the Cultivation of Minotaur, author, an unknown young master. Soon, the banquet was over and night fell. Nangong Chen returned to the mansion alone. During the next period of time, he would go into seclusion and break through to the realm of great power. Nangong Chen first took out the Chaos Dao fruit, but he did not swallow it in a hurry. Instead, he took stock of the gains from this trip to the Nine Heavens secret realm. The first thing he got from Su Aotian was the red flame dragon bone and the Qilin magic. The red flame dragon bones can be used to forge weapons, but he hasn't decided what to forge yet. If possible in the future, he could learn swordsmanship. After all, fighting with a sword is very suitable for his style. Nangong Chen's eyes flickered and his face showed anticipation. Afterwards, Nangong Chen took out the Qilin magic with a fiery look in his eyes. This is the complete inherited magic technique of Qilin, one of the 10 evils, and one of the most supreme magic techniques. Now Nangong Chen has 2 of these techniques in his hands, which can be said to be an incredible luck. You know, even in the upper realm, among some ancient freaks and monsters, only a few can master the 10 evil techniques. If they knew that someone in the lower realm possessed two techniques, they would definitely be shocked. Shilin Step, Shilin Seal, Shilin Fist, these are all part of it. Nangong Chen pondered and couldn't help but sigh. If you can master it, I'm afraid your combat power will be greatly increased. He is worthy of being the son of luck, his luck is unparalleled. However, the biggest gain this time was the Tianyuan spiritual steel, which actually gave him more than 9,000 drops of immortal liquid. This is an extremely terrifying number. You know, it only took Gunan 1,000 drops of immortal liquid to become a saint. In other words, the remaining immortal liquid is enough to create 9 saints. Hiss. It's so terrifying. However, this also depends on the person. For example, Gunan has third-grade qualifications, so the resources he uses for cultivation are relatively few. If it were him, or Suli, to create a saint, it would probably take about 100,000 drops. Of course, the lower the qualifications, the less you will use. In that case, it's not worth it to use it for cultivation by myself. Nangong Chen said to himself. However, he did not forget that the second function of the fairy liquid was to cultivate precious medicine and accelerate its growth. Just like the spiritual sea under the Hongmeng Meng tree, it becomes the nutrient for these precious medicines. Thinking of this, Nangong Chen directly entered the internal space of the Tianyuan Lingbei. Nangong Chen only felt that his consciousness was a little dazed. The next moment, after seeing the scene in front of him, he couldn't help but be shocked. This space is like the universe, with hundreds of precious medicines floating in the void, and below is the spiritual sea formed by the gathering of immortal liquid, as bright as the galaxy. The galaxy exudes a rich spiritual energy, with fluorescent dotted lines connecting each precious medicine, which is extremely magical. These precious medicines are transforming at a speed visible to the naked eye, trying to evolve into holy medicines. Above the holy medicine is the divine medicine. For example, the Hongmeng Dao fruit requires countless immortal fluids and an epoch of time to mature. I don't know how many holy medicines these 9,000 drops of immortality liquid can turn into. At this moment, an ancient voice sounded. 100 drops of immortality liquid can transform a precious medicine into a holy medicine. Nangong Chen looked up and saw a ginseng actually speaking with 2 white beards growing on it. Damn, the ginseng has become a spirit. With such a strong vitality, if Grandpa were to eat this, he would probably be able to regain his youth. You know, this kind of ginseng that increases lifespan is extremely rare, and judging from the aura of this ginseng, it is at least a holy medicine. Thinking of this, Nangong Chen's eyes flashed, as if he was looking at something. Boy, you'd better not focus on me. I am just the spirit of this space. The ginseng said softly. After hearing this, Nangong Chen looked a little disappointed. It turned out to be a spirit of the weapon. What a pity. The corner of Rinshin's mouth twitched. This kid really wanted to eat him. Chapter 75 Two Monsters in One Family. Can 100 drops of immortality liquid turn into a holy medicine? Nangong Chen pondered to himself. That's right, that is to say, these immortality liquids of yours can be transformed into 93 holy medicines. Renshin said softly, and then added, however, it will take about 50 years. Why? Nangong Chen asked with some confusion. 50 years is indeed a long time. Ginseng rolled his eyes at him and said unhappily, it's because you haven't obtained enough immortality liquid. The cultivation speed in the Tianyuan spiritual monument is divided into 5 levels. The amount of immortality liquid required is 1,000, 10,000, 100,000, 1 million, and 10 million respectively. You have only unlocked the 1,000 level now, so it will take 50 years. If you unlock the 10,000 level, it will take 25 years, and the subsequent ones will take 15 years, 5 years, and 1 year. After hearing this explanation, Nangong Chen suddenly understood. So that's it. So, in this case, I am very close to the next level, just 700 drops of fairy liquid. However, this is not a small number. It is a complete surprise that I can obtain 9,000 drops in the 9 Heavens secret realm this time. But you are also very powerful. You can even wake me up from my sleep. Suddenly, Ginseng seemed to have thought of something and spoke. Oh? Does that mean you haven't woken up yet? Nangong Chen also became interested and asked. That's right, I haven't woken up for 50,000 years, ever since I fell into your Xiantian territory. Ginseng said somewhat indignantly. 50,000 years? After hearing this, Nangong Chen's eyes were filled with shock. This thing has been sleeping for 50,000 years. How long has this old monster lived? Then, Renshin continued, and there was some reminiscence on his face without many facial features. I'm too poor. Every person I meet can't wake me up. The most I've ever spent on immortality liquid is probably no more than 1,000. But one day, that kid seemed to have run into some trouble and spent it all at once, leaving nothing for me. After that, I never saw him again. He really didn't know how to respect the elderly and love the young. I don't know if he had abandoned me. Ginseng's tone was faint, and there was a hint of sadness in it. Nangong Chen's pupil shrank slightly, and a person instantly came to his mind, Dean Gunan. Aren't you still asleep? How did you sense it? Nangong Chen asked with some confusion. Alas, I am the spirit of the weapon. Although I haven't awakened yet, I can sense it more or less. Ginseng said casually. He didn't abandon you, he died. Nangong Chen said in a deep voice after thinking about it. After hearing this, Rinchen's face showed shock, but then he became relieved, and the two whiskers that had been curling up drooped down. I knew it. Rinchen sighed and continued, it's such a pity. Every time that guy comes in, he's either talking about the academy or his daughter. He never thinks about me at all. I really don't understand. Why live such a hard life? Isn't it better to live happily for yourself? Okay, I'm going to rest too, you can go out. Rinchen said with a gloomy look in his eyes, and then disappeared in this space. Soon, the space returned to silence. Nangong Chen was also a little confused when he heard what Uncle Ginseng said. Aren't you living happily for yourself? Then he shook his head, swept away the confusion, and his face regained its spirit. He is a human being. People are born with blood, close relatives, family, and people who love him. Naturally, he cannot simply live for himself. What is the difference between him and a heartless and ungrateful person? This ginseng is just a spirit of an artifact, what does it know? Nangong Chen shook his head, took one last look at the place, and left. 50 years is indeed a very fast time compared to the normal growth time of half an era. But for him, it was still too slow and he still needed a constant supply of immortality liquid. After regaining consciousness, Nangong Chen sat cross-legged in the mansion. Then he took out the Hongmeng Dao fruit and looked at this crystal-clear little fruit, which was not even half the size of his fist. Nangong Chen's eyes flashed. How should he swallow this? Should he swallow it in one gulp or chew it slowly? Never mind, I just swallowed it in one gulp. Afterwards, after Nangong Chen swallowed the Hongmeng Dao fruit in one gulp, an extremely powerful energy exploded in his body. Boom! The next moment, this huge wave directly shattered the mansion. Nangong Chen's aura was as deep as the abyss, and the scattered stones were all bounced away by him. Soon, Nangong Chen was the only one left in this world, sitting cross-legged. He unconsciously practiced the Tao immortal scripture in his mind. Runes flickered around him, and divine light shone on him, as if a banished immortal had descended to the world. Tianyuan Mansion was also shocked by such a huge tremor and thought it was an enemy attack. In an instant, countless powerful men rushed into the void, their eyes burning and their faces full of vigilance, scanning the surroundings. Hiss! Look at the young master! A powerful god king shouted with a shocked look on his face. When everyone looked at this scene, their pupils shrank slightly and they couldn't believe what they saw. This is actually a vision of breaking through to great power. Soon, another powerful figure appeared. They were Nangong Zhan and Nangong Yu. Nangong Yu stepped on the void, his aura as deep as the abyss, and immediately decided, open the clan protection formation to cover up the strange phenomenon. Nangong Zhan nodded, then made a formation gesture with his hands and closed his eyes. The next moment, a divine light suddenly appeared outside the Tianyuan Mansion. A divine light shone brightly and shot straight into the sky. A red barrier rose up, covering the entire Tianyuan Mansion. This is a saint-level formation. In the entire Xiantian domain, there are very few forces that can arrange such a large-scale formation. Everyone was also very shocked when they saw it. Even the clan protection formation that had never been used 1,000 years ago was used today. At the same time, in Tianyuan Mansion, another strange phenomenon rose into the sky. In the void, there were real phoenixes circling and intertwining. One of them exuded an extremely cold chill, while the other exuded a flame that could burn the sky. Even the aura revealed by the phantom of the real phoenix was not something they could resist. Some powerful god kings retreated, their faces turning pale. The goddess is about to break through. Oh my god, what kind of freaks are these two? Each one is more amazing than the other. Someone said in a trembling voice. However, more people were still extremely happy. With these two peerless heroes in Tianyuan Mansion, why couldn't they win the championship? Wang Yuxuan and Zhou Waner also came out. When they saw this scene, their beautiful eyes trembled and they were shocked. This couple is really one more perverted than the other. Chapter 76, 10th on the heavenly ranking, Storm is coming. As Nangong Chen became famous in the battle in the Nine Heavens secret realm, there was an uproar in all the divine continents. At this moment, the streets in front of the Tianji Pavilion in Zhongshenzhou were packed with people. Among them were many geniuses, and even many famous geniuses on the heaven and earth list. They came here today for only one purpose, which was to see what rank the person with double pupils could reach on the heavenly ranking in this update. Recently, the performance of the person with double pupils in the Nine Heavens secret realm has broken their inherent impression of other geniuses in China. Moreover, there is an endless stream of discussion about the power behind the man with double pupils. Everyone is very curious about what kind of existence is behind him that can even confront the palace of the sun god. Even after the sun god palace learned about it, they did not choose to take action immediately, but instead remained on the sidelines. This also refreshed everyone's views. Is this still the domineering and powerful top force, the Sun Palace? As a result, people became more and more curious about the life stories of people with double pupils. Brother Lu, do you think this newly emerged person with double pupils can make it into the top 10 of the heavenly ranking? In the most distinguished room above the restaurant, a young man looked at the scene below and asked. He had a domineering look on his face and was wearing a red battle suit. Divine fire flickered as his eyes opened and closed, and red flames surrounded his body. His aura was extremely powerful, as if the god of fire had come to the world. If anyone below recognized him, they would be horrified. Because this is the monster ranked 10th on the heavenly ranking, Zhang Che, whose talent is incomparable and extraordinary. He has the legendary 9th grade divine body, the burning heaven battle body. Opposite him sat a man with an equally extraordinary aura. He was ablaze with immortal light, his eyes shone with divine light, and he was dressed in gorgeous clothes. His aura was also very astonishing. After hearing this, his eyes flickered and he said, entering the top 10 of the heavenly ranking. If it were in the 9 heavens secret realm, and what those people said was true, those with double pupils could even break into the top 5 of the heavenly ranking. After all, if we were to kill the Blood Demon King, even in his weakened state, we would probably be no match for him. Zhang Che wasn't surprised after hearing this. He just said in a cold voice, I'm afraid words alone are not enough. A genius at the peak of the Purple Mansion realm, even if he has the legendary 9th grade talent, can't possibly kill a Blood Demon King. Who knows? Lu Wuxin said lightly. Anyway, he was ranked 9th on the heavenly ranking. Even after the one with double pupils rushed up, he still did not fall out of the top 10 on the heavenly ranking. Anyway, I don't believe he can kill the Blood Demon King. I'm afraid those geniuses are just talking nonsense. Zhang Che questioned with cold eyes. If he were squeezed out of the top 10 of the heavenly ranking, it would be an absolute humiliation for him. Lu Wuxin remained silent, his eyes fixed on the ground below. There was no point in saying these things now, he still had to wait until the heavenly ranking was refreshed. Soon, a new round of heavenly rankings appeared. Everyone's eyes widened, their faces filled with urgency. But some people expressed disdain, thinking that those with double pupils are just exaggerating. After all, who could believe that a peak Purple Mansion cultivator could kill a Blood Demon King? The ranking of those with double pupils should be around 50 at most. As for being in the top 10 on the heavenly ranking, that's simply a dream. Soon, they found Nangong Chen's ranking. When they saw it clearly, their pupils shrank slightly, their mouths opened wide, and their eyes were full of disbelief. Oh my god, 10th on the heavenly ranking. Someone with double pupils actually jumped straight from outside the top 100 to the top 10. Someone said in shock. It turned out that Zhang Che, who was ranked 10th on the heavenly ranking, had been squeezed out of the top 10 at some point, and the name Nangong Chen had taken his place. In the restaurant, Zhang Che saw this scene and crushed the wine glass in his hand, slammed the door and left, saying coldly, "What a bullshit ranking. A person at the peak of the Purple Mansion is worthy of being above me. I will definitely experience it when I get to the Chu family's immortal treasure trove." Lu Wuxin smiled and didn't care, but there was curiosity in his eyes. Who on earth could someone with double pupils be? It's truly exciting. And in an unnoticed corner, a woman named Suli actually made it directly to the 30th place on the heavenly ranking. In the Xiantian realm, there was also a piece of news that made countless people excited. That is, the Chu family immortal collection is about to be held. At that time, some monsters at the top of the heavenly ranking, and even some ancient freaks that have not yet been born, will come to participate and compete for the supreme opportunity. You must know that the Chu family's immortal treasure is not just fought over by the geniuses of Xiantian realm. It is a small world. By then, the monsters from other realms will also appear and compete for the opportunity together. This is a chance for Xiantian realm to gain reputation. If you can sweep away the geniuses from other domains in the immortal treasure, that would be the real glory and true fame. At the same time, the Chu family also announced that if one could obtain an item from the immortal treasure, he could become the son-in-law of the Chu family and the fiancé of the young lady of the Chu family. As soon as these words were spoken, all the geniuses in the entire Xiantian domain were extremely excited. If they could marry Miss Chu, that would be the real breakthrough. After learning about this, some evildoers who had been desperately pursuing Chu Yan announced that anyone who competed with them for her would be their mortal enemy. Chu family. Damn, sister, you really guessed it right. My brother-in-law has directly entered the 10th place on the heavenly ranking. Xu Xing said excitedly. Inside the courtyard, Chu Yan's beautiful eyes calmed down after hearing this, and she seemed a little disappointed. She opened her red lips slightly and said, "The Tianji Pavilion is still conservative. A person with double pupils is at least in the top 5 of the heavenly ranking. Also, don't call him brother-in-law in the future. It's so embarrassing. Xu Xing's face was bitter, and she seemed to be hesitant to speak. Then she said, Sister, if you spread the news, and someone really gets the token, do you really have to marry someone else? All my friends are clamoring to be my brother-in-law. Xu Yan nodded, then shook her head and said softly, that token isn't that easy to get. From ancient times to the present, no one has ever been able to take it. If someone does take it, then why not marry him? Okay. Xu Xing said helplessly. Deep down, he still wanted Nangong Chen to be his brother-in-law. He was a really cruel man. From childhood to adulthood, he had never seen anyone so cruel. Palace of the Sun God. I didn't expect that there is a force in East Shenzhou that is hidden so deeply. An old man in the palace said. The old man was wearing a noble robe, his aura was as deep as the ocean, and when his eyes opened and closed, there were 2 suns in the sky, extremely terrifying. He was a saint. Palace Master, do we still want revenge? An elder knelt on the ground and asked respectfully. That's right, the old man in front of him is the current Palace Master of the Sun God Palace, Fendao. No rush. We have too little information right now. If we act rashly, the consequences will be disastrous. Besides, we don't know if the super saint level expert from that day was on their side. If he was, it would be very difficult to deal with. Fendao said slowly. But, then. The elder below was a little unwilling and wanted to say something. Revenge, of course, is what we need. After all, our palace has suffered such heavy losses this time. From ancient times to the present, we have never suffered such a great injustice. The Chu family's immortal treasure, I believe that the one with double pupils will also arrive. When the Holy Sun is born, the one with double pupils will be the first stepping stone. You know, the higher you praise someone, the more painful it will be when they fall. Fendao's face lit up as he spoke in a cold voice. Chapter 77 Double Breakthrough, the tribe members are shocked. Tianyuan Mansion. A few days later. It's done. As the strange phenomenon in the sky gradually faded away, someone spoke. Suli opened her beautiful eyes, her eyes flashing, and she felt that there was endless power in her body. A mark of the divine phoenix appeared between her eyebrows. She looked charming and beautiful, and her temperament became more noble, like a real phoenix in the sky. Is this the Great Power Realm? It's completely different from the Purple Mansion realm. Oh, I finally made a breakthrough. I was almost bored to death these past few days. Just then, a charming and lazy female voice rang in her mind. After Suli heard this, her beautiful face froze for a moment. After she came to her senses, her eyes were filled with joy. Are you awake? That's right, it was Empress Qi Yao who had been sleeping for a long time and had awakened. When you chose to absorb the Phoenix Stone, I had already woken up. It was all thanks to this Phoenix Stone. There is a spirit in it that is extremely crucial for my spiritual cultivation. Qi Yao spoke slowly, with satisfaction in her tone. That's good. Suli breathed a sigh of relief. She felt very guilty about Qi Yao sleeping for such a long time. But your man hasn't made a breakthrough yet. He's really perverted. Qi Yao seemed to have thought of something and spoke in shock. Suli also looked up. Suddenly, countless saints appeared in the void, with great momentum. At this moment, they were all paying homage to Nangong Chen. It was hard to believe after seeing it. This is the legendary pilgrimage of all saints. Only those with great luck in ancient times or those with extraordinary talents can appear. It seems that your husband is not simple. Qi Yao explained with an inexplicable meaning. Of course. That day in the Nine Heavens secret realm, he picked the Hongmeng Dao fruit. Suli's tone was cold, but there was a hint of pride in it. After hearing this, Qi Yao's mature and charming face froze. What did you say? Did he get the Hongmeng Dao fruit? Yeah. Suli said lightly. Qi Yao's expression suddenly became interesting, and she asked why Nangong Chen was so abnormal. It turned out that he had swallowed the Hongmeng Dao fruit. You know, even in her previous life, she was eager for this kind of miraculous medicine. Even if it appears in the 9 heavens and 10 earths, it will attract countless powerful people to snatch it away. And this kid actually used it to build the foundation. What a waste of resources. Qi Yao gritted her teeth, feeling an indescribable sourness. Comparing yourself with others will only make you angry. But soon, all the shadows of the saints disappeared, and a divine light descended from the sky. A large amount of purple air came from the east in the void, and the rosy glow shone brightly. It was obviously a blessing from heaven. When everyone saw this scene, their pupils shrank slightly and their eyes widened. It was the first time in their lives that they had seen such a grand sight. Nangong Chen sat cross-legged between heaven and earth, opened his eyes, and as his pupils opened and closed, he saw stars sinking, the sun destroying, and the earth and sky collapsing. His eyes shot straight into the void, which made people feel daunted. At this moment, the aura he exuded was too astonishing, and he actually had the aura of a natural king. Even the powerful god kings present turned pale when they saw his eyes, and couldn't help but feel like kneeling down in their hearts. Is this the realm of great power? Nangong Chen muttered to himself. If he were to face the Blood Demon King now, he would probably be able to kill him instantly. Soon, everyone gathered around, and the two people who appeared the fastest were Nangong Chen and Nangong Yu. After feeling this aura, Nangong Yu, despite his vast knowledge, was stunned for a moment. No, he actually broke through directly to the late stage of great power? Nangong Chen was also shocked, and then he was ecstatic, saying, as expected of my offspring, he really has some of my style. When the others heard this, their eyes widened with disbelief. They had been trying to reach the late stage of great power for thousands of years, but now an 18-year-old junior had easily broken through to that level. This made them feel so depressed that they almost vomited blood. It was so depressing. When Nangong Chen saw everyone, he greeted them politely. Everyone nodded, looking at him with increasing satisfaction. Soon, someone on the other side exclaimed in shock, young mistress has also broken through to the late stage of great power. Suli, who was becoming more and more charming, was walking slowly towards this side. The phoenix mark between her eyebrows was very eye-catching, embellishing her breathtakingly beautiful face. It made people a little dazed for a moment and dared not look directly at her. Nangong Chen was stunned and felt a little surprised. He didn't expect that Suli had also made a breakthrough. However, at this speed, if he was not a time traveler, he would probably be completely outshined by her. She is definitely the heroine. Great, that's great. I have my son and daughter-in-law in Tianyuan Mansion, so there's nothing to worry about. Nangong Chen also smiled, and his tone was full of satisfaction. Everyone nodded in agreement. Yes, with the young master and his wife being so talented, they simply don't leave any chance for other geniuses to survive. A young member of the tribe spoke up, his eyes burning and his face excited. That's right. It seems that in the future, our Nangong family will also have two saints. Ha 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 ha. We have to work hard too. Don't let these two juniors catch up to us. That would be truly embarrassing. Everyone laughed and sighed. In the hall. Yes, it seems that the opportunity you got in the Nine Heavens secret realm this time is unexpectedly great. Nangong Yu praised, looking at the handsome Nangong Chen in front of him. Nangong Chen's expression was indifferent, the divine light around him became brighter and brighter, his temperament was ethereal and otherworldly, just like a real banished immortal. Taking the Hongmeng Dao fruit as the foundation, I am afraid that since ancient times, only Nangong Chen has been so generous. It was just luck. Nangong Chen was very humble. After hearing this, the two looked at each other and were very satisfied. Having talent is not necessarily a good thing. Many times, only with a sincere and humble heart can one go a long way. Otherwise, if one is arrogant, he will not achieve much. Father, I want to know about my mother. At this moment, Nangong Chen suddenly said with a serious expression on his face. This time, I could feel the ghost-faced woman who saved me in the Northern Territory. I felt a genuine closeness to her, as if we were family. Who she is, who my mother is, or whether she is alive or dead, I have no idea. Nangong Chen said helplessly with confusion in his eyes. When these words were spoken, Nangong Chen was stunned, with surprise in his eyes. For a moment, there was hesitation on his face. Nangong Yu sighed. He knew that what was coming would eventually come. Chapter 78 Ji Rukin. Now that you are incredibly talented and growing rapidly, it's time to tell you some things. Nangong Chen sighed and said softly. Then, Nangong Chen told the story of how he met Nangong Chen's mother. Your mother and I, to be exact, I picked them up during the war. Picked it up? Nangong Chen looked a little confused after hearing this. Nangong Chen looked reminiscent, then slowly spoke. Well, back then, there was a war in the Northern Territory, and Dakian sent troops to invade us. As the king of Jinbei, I naturally had to go and fight for military merit. That battle was very difficult, and many people died. I won't go into details. At the time, I only remember that after the war, divine light descended from the sky in the Northern Territory, and a shocking vortex appeared in the sky, as if some great terror was about to be unleashed. Then, a woman covered in wounds unexpectedly fell from the vortex. She was very powerful and beautiful. Even in her coma, the pressure she exuded was enough to kill many people. Nangong Chen nodded, a look of realization in his eyes. Later, as if possessed by a ghost, I actually went to save that woman, your mother. After she woke up, I learned that your mother's name was Ji Rukin. What a beautiful name, just like her. Nangong Chen said suddenly with some obsession. Then, Nangong Chen talked incessantly about the story of his love with Nangong Chen's mother. Maybe it was because he hadn't told anyone about it for a long time, but he was too excited and didn't stop talking. Nangong Yu, who was standing aside, had disappeared from the spot at this moment. He didn't want to listen to the old man's mumbling at all. Only Nangong Chen listened with great interest. After all, this was the only way for him to understand his mother. After a few hours, Nangong Chen finally finished his story. Nangong Chen looked like he was in great torture. His expression changed from curiosity at the beginning to helplessness. It could be said that his expression changed so quickly. God knows that my father would take an hour to talk about a date. However, after listening to his father's story, Nangong Chen had a general understanding of his mother. His mother was of noble status, coming from the upper realm, the immortal Ji family in the 9 heavens. This was why his mother had to leave the Xiantian realm later. It turns out that we have so many opportunities in Tianyuan Mansion every year, all given by my mother. At this moment, Nangong Chen suddenly realized. What else can we do? Do you think that the opportunity for your cultivation came from the wind? So many people in our Tianyuan Mansion, including you, need your mother to support them. Nangong Chen said helplessly. Then aren't you just living off her? Nangong Chen suddenly thought of something and spoke. Nangong Chen didn't think much of it after hearing this, and said casually, if you can eat, you can also find a woman to eat gigolo, can you do that? Besides, your mother abandoned us father and son, so isn't it normal to give some compensation? After hearing this, Nangong Chen seemed to feel that there was some truth in it and nodded, yes. You still have to thank me for saving your mother. Otherwise, you would be living on the streets now, and you wouldn't even be able to drink milk powder when you were a child. Nangong Chen said with pride. But I have to say, your mother is doing really well in the upper realm. She has no shortage of magic weapons and elixirs. She also sends us tons of immortal crystals for cultivation. This is why our Tianyuan Mansion has reached this point. Nangong Chen was a little amused and didn't know what to say for a while. Your mother takes good care of you. She always fills your storage ring with a bunch of good things, which makes your father jealous. Nangong Chen spoke as if he had thought of something. Then where is my ring? Where is it? Nangong Chen asked with fiery eyes. Well, I've used it up. It's all because you were too mediocre before. You went to brothels every day to tease the top courtesans. You didn't do your job properly. You even had a third-grade talent. At that time, I even doubted whether you were our child. And if I gave it to you then, I'm afraid it wouldn't be of much help to you, so I decided to use it to improve the strength of our Tianyuan Mansion. Nangong Chen said something shocking and spoke slowly. After hearing this, Nangong Chen clenched his fists. Damn it, old Biden even wanted to embezzle your son's things. Don't be impatient. Aren't you curious about how powerful our Tianyuan Mansion is now in the Xiantian domain? Seeing that he was about to get angry, Nangong Chen said embarrassedly. What? Nangong Chen asked curiously. Thanks to you, our Tianyuan Mansion has developed into the top part of Xiantian territory in just over 10 years. If you get into trouble in the future, there will be someone to clean up your mess. You're touched, right? Nangong Chen laughed. I'm not moved at all, old Biden, get me back my things. Nangong Chen didn't buy it and said unhappily. Alas, who knew that you would become so smart after getting married? If I had known this, I would not have taken those opportunities. But don't worry, I will definitely not be greedy for your ring every year in the future. Nangong Chen said solemnly. After hearing this, Nangong Chen's expression finally eased a little. That's about right, but greed for these resources could allow a small force in a dynasty to leap directly to the top of Xiantian domain. How much has been greed? Forget it, I won't bother with him. After all, he has the Tianyuan Lingbei in his hand, so he is not short of resources. Moreover, when Tianyuan Mansion was passed to him in the future, those resources would have returned to his hands after going around in circles. I originally wanted to wait until you were 20 to tell you this, but I didn't expect you to rise so quickly. Nangong Chen said quietly, and then he changed the subject. Of course, from the moment you were born, it was time for our divine sword, hidden in the Great Zhou, to be unsheathed, allowing the world to witness the depth of our Tianyuan Mansion. After all, reputation is earned through hard work. Nangong Chen nodded, he agreed with this point. By the way, the king of Great Zhou has sent someone to assassinate me again this time. Suddenly, Nangong Chen's face turned cold and he spoke. It's that Zhou Wanner, right? Nangong Chen seemed to have expected it. This was the information Nangong Chen learned after he entered the 9 Heavens secret realm, but it was already too late. Later, Nangong Chen saw Zhou Wanner and Nangong Chen coming back together, and he guessed a lot of things. Nangong Chen was stunned when he heard this. Damn, how do you know all this? Since the king of Great Zhou wants to die so much, there will be no king in Great Zhou after tomorrow. Nangong Zhan's tone turned cold, and murderous intent appeared on his resolute face. Chapter 79, Crisis of the Scarlet Cloud Sword Sect. The Other Side. Scarlet Cloud Sword Sect. After Lu Ruyan came back, the The Red Sword God King was extremely excited and his eyes were burning with excitement when he learned about Nangong Chen's heroic deeds in the Nine Heavens secret realm. Overwhelmed the genius of China's Shenzhou and killed the legendary Blood Demon King. It's hard to imagine that these are things that an 18-year-old boy would do. This is enough to prove Nangong Chen's invincible qualifications. He, the Red Sword God King, has lived his whole life and finally followed the right person. Ruyan, from now on, you must cling to the young master's thighs and serve him well. Your beauty is no less than that of the other women around him. You are a true dragon, and you will surely soar to the sky in the future. The Red Sword God King said earnestly. If Lu Ruyan can capture Nangong Chen, it will be of great benefit to their Qiyun sword sect, and he will also have a guarantee. In the audience, Lu Ruyan was wearing a green dress, with delicate features, skin as white as mutton fat, and an elegant temperament, like a beauty who walked out of the classical world. I'll try my best. At this moment, Lu Ruyan lowered her head and was silent for a long time before she spoke. If it were in the past, she would definitely have been dismissive, but after experiencing this Nine Heavens secret realm, her thoughts have changed a little. However, even so, she still couldn't do it if she carried the Sword Emperor's heart and was asked to serve Nangong Chen like other women. This has nothing to do with anything else, it's just the inner dignity that Lu Ruyan has had since ancient times. Alas, you will understand later. Seeing her like this, the Red Sword God King thought of something in his mind and shook his head and said. Soon, an anxious voice came in. Master, it's bad. The King of Zhou is coming again with those 3 thieves. Outside the gate, a disciple ran in hurriedly, saying with fear on his face. You should feel honored to lead the way for us. A voice with intimidating presence came from behind. Ah! Then, a cold light passed through and directly pierced the disciple's heart. When Lu Ruyan saw this scene, her pretty face turned pale, a chill surged in her heart, and her beautiful eyes were filled with shock. The King of Great Zhou brought 3 thieves with him? Who are they? Why did they break into our sect? At this moment, there were countless doubts in her heart. The Red Sword God King, who was standing by, also widened his eyes, his gaze was cold, and his face was filled with extreme anger when he saw this. Outside the door, after the disciple's body fell, a figure wearing a dragon robe walked in, and behind him, 3 powerful auras followed. The middle-aged man in the lead, who was intimidating without being angry, was none other than the current ruler of the Great Zhou, the King of Great Zhou. Behind him were the leaders of the other 3 sword sects besides the 4 sword sects of the Great Zhou. You, for slaughtering my sect's disciples like this, aren't you afraid of retribution? The Red Sword God King said coldly, his eyes filled with anger. Massacre? We're just punishing you for not agreeing to our demands for so long. As for retribution, where is the retribution? Ha 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 ha. The leader of Lingxiao sword sect smiled and said that it was him who had just made the move. His aura was powerful, even not inferior to that of the Red Sword God King. After hearing this, the other 2 also laughed out loud with indifferent expressions. They are all the leaders of a certain sect, all have the cultivation level of God King, and are extremely powerful. You are simply dreaming of asking me to hand over the sword embryo fragment and submit to that prince. This is absolutely impossible. The Red Sword God King said coldly and decisively. I've given you almost a week to consider it. Why haven't you agreed yet? Are you really trying to force us to take action? We're only giving you so much time because we know each other. A man spoke up. He was dressed in black and his aura was concealed. He was the leader of the Shadow Sword sect. At this moment, he had a smile on his face and spoke in a disdainful tone, as if he was giving him alms. My Scarlet Cloud Sword sect is not as spineless as you. You actually surrendered to the court of another dynasty. How ridiculous. And you, the King of Great Zhou, the monarch of a country, actually allied with them. I am so disappointed. The Red Sword God King sneered, his heart not wavering at all. Don't you know better than me whether this Great Zhou is still mine? King Zhou shook his head and asked, then continued in a cold voice. That prince is from the immortal dynasty of Zhongshenzhou. I would rather submit to him and be his heir than let these people from Tianyuan Mansion ride on my head every day. Now is my chance to uproot Tianyuan Mansion, so I must cherish it. After hearing this, the Red Sword God King was shocked. It turned out that the King of Great Zhou was going to join forces with the prince to deal with Tianyuan Mansion. Oh no, this will be known to the young master and the others. After hearing this, Lu Ruyan couldn't help but widen her beautiful eyes and slightly open her red lips in surprise. Is this still the King of Great Zhou in her mind? He actually said such words. Yes, I'm asking you, will you hand over the sword embryo fragment and submit to the crown prince? An old woman who had been silent all this time spoke up, looking at him coldly. She is the leader of the Shueiyue sword sect and is also a powerful person in the Divine King realm. You should know the consequences of rejecting that prince, right? The leader of Lingxiao sword sect threatened with a fierce look on his face. The Red Sword God King didn't hesitate and said coldly, I have already submitted to the young master. I will never submit to them again in this life. When these words were spoken, several people looked shocked, some of them were surprised. Young master, who is it? King Zhou asked, feeling vaguely uneasy. The other three also looked at the Red Sword God King eagerly. Nangong Chen, the young master of Tianyuan Mansion. The Red Sword God King spoke slowly. When these words were spoken, the four people were stunned at first, and then they burst into laughter. How can a small Tianyuan mansion be compared with the immortal dynasty of Zhongshenzhao? I think you are getting old and confused. Even if you allow the person with double pupils to come before the crown prince, I'm afraid he will have to bow down to him. After hearing their outrageous words, the Red Sword God King remained calm and said calmly, you have humiliated the Tianyuan Mansion and the people with double pupils like this, and you will definitely have a bad end in the future. The king of Great Zhou did not say anything, but there was a hint of fear in his eyes. Unexpectedly, Tianyuan Mansion was more difficult to deal with than he imagined, and actually took over the Qiyun sword sect so early on. This was beyond his expectations. At this moment, a voice sounded in the minds of the three sect leaders at the same time. Since it's the power of the one with double pupils, then give him 1 day. Tomorrow, the crown prince will personally visit the Scarlet Cloud sword sect and force them to submit. If the one with double pupils is concerned, then let him come and face me directly. I believe he is a smart man. Their eyes flickered and they were extremely shocked. They had never expected that the prince would give the person with double pupils 1 day. There will be a good show to watch tomorrow. Chapter 80 Prince Ao Long. I didn't expect that you would be so lucky to escape today. The Shadow God King said with some regret, with murderous intent in his eyes. Obviously, this person has a great hatred for the Red Sword God King. The Crown Prince has decided to show mercy and give those with double pupils some face. He will not kill you today. Tomorrow, the Crown Prince will come personally to suppress you. Oh, and by the way, you can go to the Tianyuan Mansion and see if they will protect you. The God King Lingxiao also said it jokingly, as if he had already seen their surrender. After hearing this, the Red Sword God King secretly breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, there was still 1 day left. At this moment, he was also a little uneasy, wondering whether Tianyuan Mansion would provoke a prince of the immortal dynasty for them. The old woman glanced around and spotted Lu Ruyan sitting on the stage. Her old eyes lit up. Are you Lu Ruyan? After hearing this, Lu Ruyan's beautiful eyes showed some fear, but she still nodded. She was puzzled. Why did the old woman ask her name? Yes, the prince has heard of your name and likes you very much. If you work hard, you may become his concubine. Tomorrow, when the prince arrives, you must perform well. The old woman said slowly, looking at her with a satisfied look. After hearing this, Lu Ruyan felt like she was struck by lightning. Her body trembled slightly and her pretty face turned pale. The prince of the immortal dynasty actually fell in love with her. What should she do? Faced with the existence of this huge monster, she, a weak woman, had no power to resist. After everyone finished speaking, they prepared to leave. The king of Great Zhou looked hesitant and said, why did the crown prince wait until tomorrow? Couldn't we suppress them today? 1 day would be enough to cause a lot of changes. He had a bad feeling in his heart, so he wanted to solve the problem today and didn't want to put it off until tomorrow. You don't need to know this. We just need to obey the prince's orders. After seeing this, the Shadow God King said disdainfully, not taking him seriously at all. When the king of Dezhou saw this scene, he secretly clenched his fists and looked very unwilling. This group of people used to be very respectful to him, but after changing their master, they changed their attitude faster than anyone else. How despicable. Sooner or later, he will chop those who look down on him into pieces. A gloomy look flashed across the eyes of the king of Zhou. Without saying a word, he followed everyone away. Only after they left did the Red Sword God King dare to speak. Ruyan, you must leave immediately and go to Tianyuan Mansion to report the news. You must let the young master know. The Red Sword God King looked anxious and said anxiously. After hearing this, Lu Ruyan realized the importance of the matter, nodded, and turned into a stream of light and left. Whether our sect can survive tomorrow depends on you. Looking at her leaving back, the Red Sword God King spoke slowly. In fact, before this, he had sent many letters to Nangong Chen from Tianyuan Mansion, but at that time Nangong Chen was still in the Jotian secret realm, and it was not known whether he had seen it now. The Red Sword God King thought worriedly. On the other side, in a luxurious palace. At this moment, in the palace, a graceful girl was singing and dancing, and on the bed, there was a young man with a strong aura, looking at them with evil eyes. Not bad, you dance well, it seems that the prince will enjoy a good life today. He was dressed in gorgeous clothes. He was the prince of Qianlong Immortal Dynasty, known as Prince Aolong. He was extremely talented and carried the Aolong holy body on his back. He was ranked 8th on the heavenly ranking. As soon as these words were spoken, the faces of these singing girls turned pale and their bodies trembled. Because they all knew that the prince in front of them was extremely cruel, and anyone who spent the night with him would die tragically in the room the next day, and the death would be extremely miserable. According to rumors from others, this prince likes to abuse others. If someone does not meet his liking, he will kill them directly without any mercy. He is extremely perverted. What? You look scared of me? Prince Along jumped off the bed, his figure flashing like a ghost, and then came to a trembling palace maid. Boom! He swung his palm and blew the palace maid in front of him away. A huge force exploded in her body and she died instantly. After seeing this scene, the palace maid screamed and were terrified. Stop making so much noise. It's just one person who died. Is it necessary to make such a fuss? Prince Aolong frowned, a sense of cruelty surging in his heart. Then, his mouth was grim and his eyes were red. Since you like to yell so much, let's start the game early and start now. Immediately afterwards, the guards outside tactfully pulled the curtains, and soon, a series of extremely miserable voices were heard. Countless blood flowers bloomed on the white palace curtain, instantly dyeing the white curtain red. When the guards outside saw this scene, their eyes became indifferent, and it was obvious that they were used to it. After a long time, with the arrival of the three-sword sect master, Prince Aolong inside felt it and stopped. Your Highness, we have done as you requested. I believe it won't be long before those with double pupils will know about this. The Shadow God King knelt on the ground and said respectfully. That's right. Prince Aolong came out with a strong smell of blood and spoke. If the person with double pupils is smart, he probably won't come tomorrow after hearing my name. But that would be a bit boring. I actually hope that this person with double pupils can come tomorrow. That way, I'll have another soul on the heavenly ranking in my hands. It would be a wonderful feeling. Prince Aolong said with a relieved expression. After hearing this, several people were also shocked. Is this the crown prince? Hearing what he said, it seemed that many evildoers on the heavenly ranking had fallen at his hands. Your Highness is unparalleled in the world. How can a mere person with double pupils be your opponent? The Shadow God King flattered him. Yes, what everyone said about the person with double pupils in the Nine Heavens secret realm this time is very false. If he dares to come tomorrow, I'm afraid he will be exposed, ha ha ha. The old woman also echoed. After hearing this, Prince Aolong's face was filled with satisfaction. He said casually, since he has reached the 10th place on the heavenly ranking, he must have some strength. However, I am not afraid of him. On the contrary, I love to kill geniuses like him. I heard that the power behind him is called Tianyuan Mansion, right? You have followed me for some time. If that's the case, after I destroy them, you can go and divide up Tianyuan Mansion. After hearing this, several people looked delighted. Thank you, Prince. Chapter 81, Coming Out, Fury. On the other side, after Nangong Chen finished talking with Nangong Chen, he also went back to comprehend the Qilin treasure technique. After a long time, a golden unicorn appeared around him, with auspicious clouds and red flames intertwined on its horns. Its eyes bloomed like lightning, and its aura was overwhelming. Nangong Chen's eyes flashed with brilliance, and he threw a punch with great force. The Qilin roared, and the pressure was terrifying, with an air of a king. There was also golden energy and blood in his body that transformed into a dragon and an elephant, which was extremely powerful and seemed to be able to crush the heaven and earth. This was because his divine elephant prison suppressing power had been cultivated to a small degree of success. 100 million dragon elephant particles exploded from his body, transforming into a huge dragon elephant force of 100 million Jin. Now, if he throws a terrifying punch, Jun Wushuang will die. If the Tao immortal scripture is added to the equation, it is hard to imagine how much Nangong Chen's strength would have improved to. Even if he faces a powerful god king, he is not at all inferior. This is the combat power of the top monsters. Even though some geniuses have the same cultivation level, the combat power they unleash is completely different. Nangong Chen withdrew his strength, nodded with satisfaction, and thought in his heart. During this retreat, he achieved minor success in his divine elephant prison suppressing power, great Tao immortal scripture, and heavenly emperor fist. He even comprehended the legendary secret of the way to a minor degree. The rest of the Thunder Emperor's magic and Qilin's magic were also mastered. You know, even if other monsters wanted to learn so many heaven-defying skills, it would probably take 100 years to get started with the god-level skills, not to mention the magic of treasures, which would probably take 1,000 years. As for Nangong Chen, it is precisely because of his innate comprehension due to his double pupils, and now with the foundation created by the Hongmeng Dao fruit, that his comprehension far exceeds that of other monsters. Outside the door, Su Li and others were quietly waiting for Nangong Chen to come out. Not long after, Nangong Chen pushed the door open and walked out. Nangong Chen's black hair was flying, he was dressed in a peerless white robe, and there was a dazzling fairy light all over his body. His slender body looked even more ethereal. Compared with before, he was more sublimated, like a real immortal who had descended to the earth. At the same time, the aura emanating from him was equally astonishing, causing several people to stare with shock. Nangong Chen seems to be much stronger than before. Su Li sighed inwardly, somewhat surprised at Nangong Chen's change. On the side, Shi Yao, who was in soul state, was also looking at Nangong Chen. After seeing him, her eyes became more solemn. It's not simple, it's really not simple. This boy gives me the feeling that he is no worse than those descendants of the Nine Heavens sect, and is even more powerful than them. Shi Yao was wearing a red dress with a small white patch on her chest. She was hugging her chest and thinking. Master seems to have become more powerful. I have an indescribable feeling. Wang Yuxuan was stunned and muttered. As a born spiritual being, she could naturally feel the great changes in Nangong Chen, but she couldn't describe the feeling of being in a state of detachment. Zhou Waner was also looking at Nangong Chen. A hint of heat suddenly appeared under her dark pupils. No one noticed that a blush appeared on her delicate face. Ever since her mother's coffin was brought back, hope has returned to her heart and her personality is no longer as cold as before. Only she herself knows that she has become like this now thanks to Nangong Chen's help. So in Zhou Waner's heart, she naturally had some unclear feelings towards Nangong Chen. Has anything happened in Xiantian territory recently? Nangong Chen asked, looking at several people. The recent breakthrough and retreat time has been quite long. Even after the breakthrough, I was immediately pulled away to talk to my father, so I really don't know much about the information from the outside world. Su Li has also been making a breakthrough recently and was a little confused, so he turned his gaze to the other two people. After hearing this, Wang Yuxuan was about to say something, but unexpectedly, Zhou Waner on the side spoke first. Young master, a while ago, the Central Divine Province's heavenly ranking was refreshed, and you directly climbed to 10th place, shocking many people. And the Chu family, one of the top families in central Shenzhou, announced that they will be opening the Chu family's immortal treasures in a month. Oh, and the Chu family saint has also said that if anyone finds a token within, they can become the Chu family's consort. Zhou Waner spoke slowly and methodically. After hearing this, Nangong Chen's eyes suddenly realized and he nodded, thinking about something. Nangong Chen had heard of the heavenly ranking, but he didn't expect that he would be in the top 10. This made him curious about what kind of beings the remaining 9 monsters who were stronger than him were. Or maybe this list is randomly arranged? After all, the last time, the Chu family saint was said to be ranked 6th on the heavenly list. If that's the case, it's way too ridiculous. As for the Chu family's immortal treasure, I think that woman from the Chu family gave me a spot last time. I heard that there is a small world inside and geniuses from other domains also want to come here. This is quite interesting. If it is opened, I might as well go there. But forget about finding a token and becoming the son-in-law of the Chu family. He is not interested. Well, you are thoughtful. After thinking about it, Nangong Chen began to praise. After hearing this, Zhou Waner lowered her head shyly, feeling very pleased. Wang Yuxuan was a little jealous and said angrily, Master, I also know a piece of news, but it may be insignificant. Nangong Chen was a little surprised and said calmly, You say. Lu Ruyan came over yesterday and gave me a letter. She originally wanted to give it to you personally, but you were in seclusion at the time, so she asked me to show it to you after you came out. Wang Yuxuan spoke, and then handed a letter to Nangong Chen. Nangong Chen was a little curious, so he took it and looked through it. The other 3 sword sects actually obeyed a prince of the immortal dynasty, and that prince wanted to take over the Qiyun sword sect as well? Okay, give me a day, right? You don't even know how to write the word death. The king of Great Zhou actually wanted to join forces with the other party to deal with Tianyuan Mansion? He really got too arrogant. After reading it, Nangong Chen looked indifferent and his eyes were a little cold. What did you say? Su Li asked with concern when she saw that Nangong Chen was not right. Nangong Chen handed the letter to her and then went to find Nangong Zhen. As soon as Nangong Chen left, Wang Yuxuan and Zhou Waner surrounded him, wanting to see what was written. After they finished watching, their beautiful eyes were frosty and their teeth were clenched. This damn prince of the Xian dynasty dares to speak so boldly. He is so shameless. Wang Yuxuan said viciously. Zhou Waner also looked indignant. Su Li remained silent, her beautiful face was extremely cold, and she exuded a bone-chilling chill. If Nangong Chen were here, he would definitely be able to see that she was really angry. Chapter 82, Quell Civil Unrest and Kill Foreign Enemies. On the other side, inside the Great Zhou Palace. I've told you long ago that this thorn in Tianyuan Mansion will be removed sooner or later. You see, you still have to rely on me now. An old man in a black robe spoke and looked towards King Zhou. Beneath him, there was a blood-colored formation that was extremely bizarre. Around the formation, there were tens of thousands of corpses of children. It was a scene that shocked and frightened people. Shut up, what do you know? If it weren't for the arrival of Prince Along of the Qianlong Immortal Dynasty in our Great Zhou, I might have to lie dormant for a while. The king of Great Zhou scolded coldly and continued. This Prince Ao Long actually brought 4 quasi-saint guards with him and is willing to cooperate with us. This is a great opportunity for me. Oh, no wonder you are so cruel. You found the heartblood of 100,000 boys and girls in such a short time. The old man in black robe was also amused after hearing it. These are all your subjects. They thought the current emperor was kind enough to let them study in the palace. They didn't expect this was all your conspiracy, ha ha. You're so cruel, Zhou Jinyuan. The old man in black robe laughed loudly and even called out the real name of the king of Great Zhou. King Zhou didn't react much after hearing this. He just said indifferently, these are all my good subjects. They have worked hard to accomplish my great cause and eradicate the Tianyuan Mansion. I believe they will definitely forgive me once they know this. Besides, these are just mortals. If they die, they die. If they can make some contribution to my strength, then I can die without regrets. At this moment, after experiencing the baptism of the blood sky array, the strength of the king of Great Zhou has also stepped from the peak of quasi-saint to saint in one step, which can be said to be extremely powerful. Soon, King de Zhou left here. He was going to the Scarlet Cloud Sword sect to meet them. First, he would weaken the strength of Tianyuan Mansion, and then slowly devour Tianyuan Mansion. This was his strategy. Outside the palace, millions of soldiers have gathered and are ready to go together to destroy the Tianyuan Mansion. Today, King de Zhou has made up his mind to have a decisive battle with Tianyuan Mansion. They in Tianyuan Mansion could never guess that he would suddenly attack. Thinking of this, he became excited and wanted to execute all the people in Tianyuan Mansion and hang their heads outside the palace to show the emperor's power. Nangong Chen wants to rebel and seize the throne. Today, I will lead you all to wipe out this traitor. King de Zhou said loudly. In the hall. When Nangong Chen learned about this, he seemed to have thought of something and asked. You said that the prince from the immortal dynasty wanted their sword embryo fragments? That's what the letter said. What's wrong? Nangong Chen responded with a puzzled look on his face. Nangong Zhan's expression changed drastically, and he explained. Rumor has it that a powerful being once divided the Daluo sword embryo into 9 pieces and scattered them throughout the Xiantian territory. I heard that only the leader of the sword sect possesses one of the 9 pieces. If we gather these 9 pieces of the sword embryo, we can recreate the Daluo sword embryo from back then. This is a legendary artifact. There are even rumors that this Daluo sword embryo is the key to the legendary ancient battlefield. After hearing this, Nangong Chen's face suddenly became clear and he became interested. So, this prince wants to collect all 9 sword embryo fragments? It's very likely. The Daluo sword embryo has a great opportunity, and we must not let him get it. At this time, a voice came from the void, and Nangong Yu appeared and spoke. Seeing that his grandfather had said all this, Nangong Chen also looked serious and nodded. Ding, go to Scarlet Cloud Sword sect to sign in. At this moment, the system prompt sound also sounded. After hearing this, Nangong Chen was also a little surprised and a smile appeared on his lips. The system came to deliver something to him again. It seems that we have to go to the Qiyun Sword sect today. Father, what about the king of Great Zhou? How should we deal with him? Nangong Chen asked again. Nangong Zhan asked in a deep voice, where are the 8 great generals of Tianyuan? Arrive! Soon, 8 extremely powerful figures appeared at the same time. They were wearing armor, had resolute faces, and were full of blood. A cold light flashed in their eyes when they opened and closed. At this moment, everyone knelt on the ground respectfully, their tone extremely respectful. After Nangong Chen felt it, his pupils shrank slightly. He found it a little hard to believe that these were actually 8 quasi-saints. Where is Qi Yun? Nangong Zhan continued. This old slave is here. Suddenly, a powerful figure emerged in the void. The old man had a scar on his face, a pair of extremely deep eyes, and a huge golden bow on his back. His whole aura was extremely sharp and powerful. The pressure emanating from his body made even the void tremble. Obviously, this is a saint. Follow the young master and kill the enemy. Today, 300,000 Tianyuan troops will come out to crush the king of Great Zhou. Nangong Zhan said domineeringly. Nangong Chen's expression was a little complicated. When he thought that these strong men were trained with his own resources, his heart bled. Forget it, forget it. I'll have to complain to my mother when I see her next time. Beat that old bidden to death. At this moment, the drums of war sound. 300,000 troops stepped on the void, each of them was well equipped, revealing a cold light and a very powerful aura. They had all reached the purple mansion realm and above. Even among the elite in each group, there were cultivators in the great power realm. The group leader even has powerful god kings, as many as hundreds. These are things that Tianyuan Mansion rarely reveals. Greetings, young master. The 300,000 soldiers shouted respectfully in unison, their voices like a huge bell, resounding throughout the world. When Nangong Chen saw this scene, his blood boiled in his heart. Which young man doesn't have a dream? Nangong Chen's double pupils appeared, and his aura was astonishing, like a natural king. He said loudly, "Comrades, since the king of Great Zhou wants to join forces with outsiders to destroy our Tianyuan Mansion, what should we do? Kill! Kill! Kill!" Everyone roared in unison, the sound was deafening and resounded through the sky. Such discipline and organization show that this is an army that has been tempered by hundreds of battles. At this moment, above Tianyuan Mansion, an army of 300,000 was passing through, forming a black mass with chariots flying everywhere. These warriors are full of vigor and fighting spirit. After seeing this, Nangong Chen couldn't help but feel proud. After all, commanding thousands of troops and conquering all directions is the dream of countless men. In the void, a platinum chariot was galloping. The ferocious beast pulling the chariot was actually a quasi-saint red dragon, which stopped directly in front of Nangong Chen. Nangong Yu smiled and said, "This is the coming-of-age gift I prepared for you. I hope you'll be satisfied." "Thank you, Grandpa," Nangong Chen said with great joy in his heart. When these words were spoken, everyone was shocked. This was actually the red dragon with the cultivation level of a quasi-saint. With such a grand plan, perhaps only the supreme saint in Tianyuan Mansion can come up with it. At this moment, even Nangong Zhan was a little envious of his son. The red dragon is born with domineering power, with flames beside it and a hint of dragon power, making it the most suitable one to pull a cart. At this moment, the red dragon actually bowed its head obediently in front of Nangong Chen to express its submission. Nangong Chen saw this and shouted, "All soldiers, follow me. Quell the civil strife and slay the foreign enemies. Kill!" The 300,000 troops responded in unison, with such overwhelming momentum that the entire void trembled. Chapter 83 Prince Aolong arrives. At this moment, war drums sounded over the entire imperial capital, and 300,000 Tianyuan soldiers crossed the river. The cold light illuminated the 9 heavens, and it was pitch black, which brought great shock to the people on the streets. Especially the chariot at the head, the ferocious beast it pulled out was described as a red dragon, and a sea of fire was set off wherever it passed, making everyone's face change drastically. This is the legendary Tianyuan army. What are they going to do in Tianyuan Mansion? Oh my god. This is the first time in the past few years that we've seen the Tianyuan army mobilize so many people. Could it be that war has broken out in the Northern Territory again? That's impossible. The day before yesterday, my brother on the front line told me that the Northern Territory was safe. Could it be that they in the Tianyuan Mansion are planning a rebellion? At this moment, both the vendors on the street and the passers-by stopped and talked in low voices. They were very curious about the identity of the owner of the leading chariot, and wondered what kind of existence could have a red dragon pulling the chariot. Everyone's eyes were filled with envy. Perhaps in the Great Zhou, only Tianyuan Mansion could do this. At the Su family's side, Su Ming stood outside the Su mansion, looking at the scene in the sky with deep eyes. Behind him, everyone in the Su family, young and old, was there, as if something big was going to happen today. "Master, what are you planning to do by sending so many Tianyuan soldiers?" An elderly elder asked from behind. Ever since Suli married into the Tianyuan Mansion, the status of the entire Su family has risen dramatically, and the treatment they receive has also been completely different, which has made them extremely close to the Tianyuan Mansion. The others were also very curious and looked at Su Ming. Don't ask what you shouldn't ask. After today, a new pattern will emerge in the entire Great Zhou. Su Ming shook his head and did not explain it directly, but left such a meaningful sentence. He was very smart. Just a few days ago, he learned that the imperial court had secretly gathered 1,000,000 troops, and he guessed that the king of the Great Zhou was going to take action against the Tianyuan Mansion. The dispatch of troops by Tianyuan Mansion today also indirectly confirmed his thoughts. However, what made him most curious was what confidence the king of Great Zhou had that allowed him to be the first to attack Tianyuan Mansion. This made Su Ming a little worried. As the saying goes, no eggs are left intact when the nest is overturned. If Tianyuan Mansion failed, their Su family would also be liquidated in the future. He could only secretly pray that Tianyuan Mansion would win. Su Ming looked into the distance with a worried look. On the other side, the palace. At this moment, Wang Xiong looked up at the sky in shock, not knowing what was going to happen. Who is this blind bastard who has offended the Tianyuan Mansion? Wang Xiong said in a shocking tone. The clansmen around him also nodded. What was strange was that their eldest daughter was taken back as a maid by Nangong Chen, but they didn't have any ill will at all. It turned out that the last time Wang Yuxuan came back, she told them that Nangong Chen did not force her to do things she didn't like, and was very caring towards her and did not restrict her freedom. Wang Yuxuan herself admitted that she had been deceived by Su Outyan before. Now that she has finally found her destined child, she naturally has to cherish him. After hearing these words, the Wang family members were stunned. After they realized what was happening, they were very happy and supported Wang Yuxuan's bold proposal. Even the Tianyuan Mansion sent a lot of resources, which made them ecstatic for a while, and they were directly grateful to the Tianyuan Mansion. So much so that now, the entire Wang family is proud of this, especially after Nangong Chen did one earth-shaking thing after another. Basically no one in the Wang family opposed it. Scarlet Cloud Sword Sect. How is it? Have you told the young master? In the hall, the Red Sword God King saw Lu Ruyan coming back and spoke with a gleam in his eyes. After hearing this, Lu Ruyan shuddered, then slowly spoke. When I arrived, Nangong Chen was still in seclusion. I waited all night without success, so I wrote a letter and gave it to his maid, asking them to give it to him when he came out. I don't know either. Did Nangong Chen see it? Lu Ruyan's voice was very low, and her beautiful eyes were dim. After hearing this, the Red Sword God King was also stunned for a moment, his expression somewhat bitter. How could it be? Why would he be in seclusion at this time? Alas! It seems that today is a very dangerous day for our Scarlet Cloud Sword sect. You shouldn't have come back. The Red Sword God King sighed and looked at her with a complicated expression. Lu Ruyan shook her head, her eyes firm. I was raised by the Scarlet Cloud Sword sect, so naturally I must share the joys and sorrows with the sect. Silly child. The Red Sword God King felt unhappy. Soon, a luxurious golden carriage appeared in the distant void, and behind it followed the several gods who had arrived yesterday. There were 4 extremely powerful figures beside the carriage, each with an aura as deep as the abyss. When the Red Sword God King felt it, his expression changed. These 4 people are actually all at the level of quasi-saints. What is the origin of this so-called prince? An endless feeling of powerlessness welled up in the heart of the Red Sword God King. What should he do? He is just a God King, how can he stop these people? At this moment, the remaining disciples in the sect were also looking at the pedestrians in the sky, their eyes filled with fear. In the carriage, Prince Along pulled aside the beaded curtain and, upon seeing this scene, couldn't help but sneer. It seems that the so-called person with double pupils is just a so-so. He doesn't even have the courage to face me. How boring. After hearing this, the several gods behind him couldn't help but flatter him. Your Excellency is the crown prince of the Qianlong immortal dynasty, of noble status. How dare someone with double pupils go against you? You truly don't know your place. That's right. This person with double pupils is quite self-aware. He knows he can't defeat the adults, so he simply didn't come. Maybe now they are scared to death. Ha 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 ha. Their expressions were extremely flattering and their tone was very ingratiating. This also made the quasi-saints in front smile. It seems that the legendary person with double pupils is just like this. As for what those people had said before, that there was an extremely powerful woman with a ghost face behind the man with double pupils, in their opinion, it was just a rumor. If there really is such a powerful person behind him, why wouldn't he come? Hearing these people's ridicule, the Red Sword God King also had a cold face and was very angry. If the young master were here, he would definitely slap them in the face. Lu Ruyan also felt good. She had some interactions with Nangong Chen, and she knew that with Nangong Chen's personality, he would definitely not be someone who was afraid of them. Soon, another army marched on the ground, and the million-strong army led by the King of Great Zhou was already in front of the gate of the Scarlet Cloud Sword sect. Sir, this is our Great Zhou's million-strong army, all gathered here now. King de Zhou said to Prince Aolong with great respect. Chapter 84, Are you done? Prince Aolong glanced down and said calmly, Yes, although most of these are just small fry, they are still somewhat useful. I promise to help you destroy the forces behind the Double Pupil man. You will submit to the Qianlong immortal dynasty in the future, and the name of the country will also be changed. Do you have any objections? Prince Aolong said this indifferently, his tone condescending, as if he was giving alms. After hearing this, King Zhou was a little stunned, but he still forced a smile on his face. You are joking, my lord. I will obey you in everything. Prince Aolong saw this and looked at him curiously. Do you hate the power behind the double pupil person so much? The one called Tianyuan Mansion, right? My lord, you don't know that the Tianyuan Mansion, relying on its strength, has committed all kinds of evil in the Great Zhou. They often commit murder and arson, causing panic among the people of the Great Zhou. King de Zhou rolled his eyes and spoke slowly. He sneered in his heart, thinking that it was so comfortable to throw dirty water on Tianyuan Mansion. I see. Then this prince will have to get rid of him. I heard that the women around him are all extremely beautiful. You followed the wrong person. You should have followed this prince. Prince Aolong said this with a righteous look on his face, with a hint of inexplicable thoughts in his eyes, and then he made a gesture. The Shadow God King beside him understood instantly, looked down, and shouted, Hand over the sword embryo fragments and obey the prince, otherwise I will slaughter the clan today. After hearing this, the Red Sword God King ignored it completely, showing no desire to surrender. You're dreaming. Lu Ruyan also looked at them with indignation. Prince Aolong's expression suddenly turned cold, and he said in a cold voice, "Teach him a lesson." As soon as he finished speaking, a quasi-saint beside him moved and pressed down directly towards the Red Sword God King with a palm. Boom! The Red Sword God King was only a God King, so how could he block this attack? He flew backwards, spitting blood, and his face turned pale. Seeing this, Lu Ruyan, who was standing by, hurried over to support him. "This is just a small warning. Please speak respectfully in front of the prince," the saint said with a disdainful tone. Yes, you are qualified to be my wife." When Prince Aolong saw Lu Ruyan, his eyes lit up. Then, Prince Aolong raised his hand, and a dragon claw took shape with incredible power, grabbing directly towards Lu Ruyan. Lu Ruyan felt such a powerful aura, her pretty face turned pale, and she felt a little powerless in her heart, not knowing how to resist. The gap is really too huge. The person in front of her is more than one level stronger than her. Not good. Seeing this, the Red Sword God King wanted to protect Lu Ruyan, but unfortunately, he was seriously injured and could only watch the dragon claw fall. At this moment, a blaze of flames descended from the sky, carrying with it a dragon's might, and easily defeated the dragon claw. Who is it? Prince Aolong looked into the void with cold eyes. How dare someone ruin his good deeds? In the void, a huge dragon had cold eyes and was majestic without being angry. It was pulling a silver-white chariot behind it. Immediately afterwards, a dark mass appeared behind the chariots. 300,000 Tianyuan soldiers were approaching the city, their momentum soaring into the sky, their fighting spirits soaring, and their faces showing cold light. Such a powerful aura caused the entire world to change color. The whole audience was shocked. Prince Aolong was stunned. After realizing what was happening, he was furious. "Do you know who I am? I am the prince of the Qianlong Immortal Dynasty. Why don't you submit to me immediately?" He could feel that the group of people in front of him were uninvited guests. The expressions of the several quasi-saints beside him changed immediately, and they whispered a warning, "Sir, there is a very strong aura among them." Prince Aolong ignored him. No matter who it was, they had to kneel down when they sought his identity as the prince. "Shut up." A cold voice came from the silver chariot, and the tone was high and mighty, like the Lord of the Nine Heavens. The next moment, a golden divine arrow flew out of thin air at an extremely fast speed, like a flash of lightning, heading straight for Prince Aolong. It happened so fast that no one could react, even the quasi-saints in front of him were stunned. Boom! Prince Aolong's right hand exploded directly, and his arm was broken in an instant. Looking at his empty right hand, Prince Aolong couldn't believe that they actually dared to attack him. "Prince!" After the four quasi-saints beside him reacted, they hurried to protect him. Their eyes were filled with disbelief. Who on earth was the other party? He was not even afraid of their identities. A white figure slowly walked out of the silver chariot. Nangong Chen was dressed in a peerless white robe, taking the Qilin steps and crossing the void. As his double pupils opened and closed, strange visions evolved, and his aura was astonishing, like a young king. As soon as Nangong Chen appeared, the whole audience was shocked. In front of these double pupils, everyone was eclipsed. The faces of the several god kings behind Prince Aolong turned pale, and even the quasi-saints felt a little palpitated. One can imagine how strong the sense of oppression brought by these eyes is. Prince Aolong actually forgot the pain for a moment, and his soul was about to be swallowed by these double pupils. He quickly bit his tongue and regained consciousness. "It's you! The one with double pupils." At this moment, even though his mind was slow, he could still react and realize that the person in front of him was the legendary person with double pupils. For a moment, the several gods behind him looked terrified and felt very uneasy. Tianyuan Mansion actually dared to come. The king of Zhou was sweating profusely and his lips turned pale. What shocked him was not Nangong Chen's arrival, but the 300,000 strong army and those extremely powerful auras. And below, Lu Ruyan saw the figure that looked like a banished immortal, and was stunned for a moment. Her beautiful eyes shone with a strange light, and her heart was deeply moved. Nangong Chen, he really came. The Scarlet Sword God King was also very excited. His pale face instantly turned red. He said tremblingly, "Young master has not given up on us." At this moment, he felt in his heart that it was very wise for him to join Nangong Chen so early. "You said you would give me some face?" Nangong Chen sneered. Prince Aolong's face was unbearable, and he said in a deep voice, "I am the prince of Qianlong Immortal Dynasty. You are just a person with double pupils. Do you really want to be my enemy? If you retreat today, nothing will happen. If you become my enemy, does that mean you will become the enemy of the entire Qianlong Immortal Dynasty? You should carefully consider this." Prince Aolong knew that he had hit a wall this time, but he was still not afraid. In the Xintian domain, who dares to give them face? "Are you done?" Nangong Chen said with a calm expression. Prince Xiaolong swallowed his saliva and responded, "That's it. Then let's get going." Chapter 85 Battle with Prince Xiaolong. Then let's get going. Nangong Chen looked calm and his tone was light. As soon as he finished speaking, his pupils became bright and a ray of light burst out as he rushed towards Prince Xiaolong. This gaze was too powerful, as if it could shatter the entire world, carrying an extremely terrifying aura. When Prince Xiaolong saw this, his expression became serious. If he took it head-on, his body would probably be seriously injured. It seems that the strength of people with double pupils is far stronger than I imagined. Seeing this, the 4 quasi-saint guards were also ready to take action to resolve this terrifying attack. At this time, the 8 great generals attacked together, lightning flashed as their eyes opened and closed, and blood and energy burst out from their bodies. They were all top-notch masters in Tianyuan Mansion. Your opponent is here. Among the 8 great generals, someone shouted loudly, with an extremely powerful aura. After sensing the aura of these 8 people, the 4 quasi-saint guards' expressions changed and they all stepped forward to engage in battle. They couldn't believe it in their hearts that there were actually 8 quasi-saints here. At this moment, some of these people regretted becoming enemies with Nangong Chen. Soon, each quasi-saint faced 2 generals and was beaten back step by step in an extremely embarrassed state. Prince Xiaolong looked weak, and his right hand regenerated. A holy dragon mark condensed in the void, emitting golden divine light. This was his innate unique skill, the Holy Dragon Seal. The Holy Dragon Seal collided with the eyes, and the power that erupted was enough to flatten mountains and rivers, and billowing smoke and dust rose up. Everyone looked at it intently, wanting to see what the final result would be. The smoke dissipated, and the figure of Prince Xiaolong appeared before the world. At this moment, his face was even weaker than before, and blood was flowing on his body, which was in sharp contrast to the beginning. On the other side, Nangong Chen was dressed in spotless white clothes, with a calm expression. His carefree and confident appearance made many people who saw him exclaim in amazement. The man with double pupils fought with Prince Xiaolong so easily that he didn't even have to breathe. Down below, the Scarlet Sword God King, upon seeing this scene, secretly exclaimed inwardly, "Young master is truly terrifying. Even the 8th-ranked being on the heavenly ranking would be defeated." Lu Ruyan, who was standing by, also widened her beautiful eyes, her heart filled with shock. This guy seems to have become stronger than when he was in the 9 Heavens secret realm. Prince Xiaolong's pupils shrank slightly, and he stood there in a daze, his face pale, his clothes tattered, and he had completely lost his previous arrogance. He didn't expect that Nangong Chen would actually dare to attack them. What he didn't expect was that with just one move, his Holy Dragon Seal was at a disadvantage. And in the void, the battle between the 2 sides was still breaking out. Powerful waves erupted frequently, runes intertwined, and magic power surged, causing the entire world to tremble. Not long after, everyone saw that the 4 quasi-saint guards of Prince Xiaolong were no match for the Tianyuan Mansion. After seeing this scene, Prince Xiaolong was also furious. He said in a low voice, "Those with double pupils, I didn't expect you to be so despicable as to use your numbers to bully the weak." Despicable? When you were bullying my forces before, did you ever think about it this way? Ridiculous. Nangong Chen sneered, not paying any attention to his thoughts, and then another punch came down. Behind Prince Xiaolong, the god kings who had surrendered to Prince Xiaolong felt a chill in their hearts and were somewhat retreating. If the prince didn't have a trump card today, I'm afraid they would all end up in regret. They didn't expect that Tianyuan Mansion would actually dare to confront Qianlong Dynasty head-on without any fear and full of confidence. In fact, the strength that Tianyuan Mansion is showing now is indeed like this. Just as they were thinking about it, a general at the God King level appeared among the 300,000-strong army and captured them directly. Young Master has issued an order, anyone who joins other factions will be treated as a traitor. Among the dozen or so God Kings, someone spoke in a cold voice, full of murderous intent. The Shadow God King, the Water Moon God King, and the Sky God King looked at each other, immediately made a judgment, and immediately burst out with their cultivation and fled behind them. But how could the generals in the Tianyuan army be vegetarians? The next moment, runes intertwined, and an attack descended from the sky, densely packed and with astonishing power. Boom! The body of the God King Lingxiao exploded instantly, and the flying soul was directly annihilated by the attack from the sky. The God King Lingxiao has fallen. It is hard to imagine that a God King fell in just a few breaths. When the 2 God Kings who escaped saw this, their faces turned pale and a chill surged in their hearts. They even fled at an even faster speed, risking their lives. In the distance, the Red Sword God King couldn't help but get excited when he saw the scene, and his face looked relieved. Good death. Lu Ruyan on the side did not look at it. In the reflection of those beautiful eyes, from beginning to end, there was always that peerless figure in white. On the other side, Nangong Chen was surrounded by immortal light, and golden blood energy burst out, transforming into the shadow of a dragon and elephant. His power was earth-shaking, and it seemed as if he was going to crush the entire sky. In Nangong Chen's body, 100 million particles exploded and turned into the power of a dragon and an elephant weighing billions of pounds. It was as terrifying as a human-shaped beast. This was only the minor success of the dragon-elephant prison suppressing power, yet it possessed such great power. He couldn't imagine what the scene would be like if it were perfected. Nangong Chen threw a punch, and a shadowy figure in white appeared behind him, like an immortal emperor. The aura he exuded made everyone's face change. The fist blew with a mighty force, and a white qilin emerged, swallowing up mountains and rivers with a kingly aura. The Heavenly Emperor fist and qilin magic were performed at the same time, and their combined power had reached a very terrifying level. If a strong man in the God King realm were to receive this move, he would either die or be injured. This is why it is said that one can never use cultivation to measure the combat power of such a monster. Because you can never imagine what kind of power these monsters can unleash. Upon seeing this, Prince Xiaolong did not dare to underestimate him in the slightest. His holy body exploded directly, shining with brilliant golden light, and his physical body transformed into a giant white dragon soaring into the sky. This is his proud dragon holy body, which has never been defeated since ancient times. After it is activated, the physical body will reach an astonishing level, just like the real dragon cub in the legend. The physical body is indestructible and no one can break through it. Of course, his strength has also been greatly increased, and he can even defeat a strong man in the God King realm on the spot. The dragons might shock the sky. The giant dragon roared, and the thick scales on its body stood up one after another, shining with cold light, trying to block Nangong Chen's punch. Such an astonishing vision of the two naturally attracted the attention of many powerful people. The 8 generals were shocked and looked at Nangong Chen with more respect, sighing in their hearts. As expected of the Mansion Lord's son, his talent is truly terrifying. When they saw the giant dragon, they showed disdain on their faces. It's just a loach, how can it stop the young master? When the 4 besieged quasi-saints saw this, their eyes lit up. Only they knew how terrifying it would be for the prince to activate the proud dragon holy body. Today, as long as the person with double pupils cannot defeat the prince, all these disputes can be resolved. Of course, they didn't have time to think about it, as several fierce attacks came at them. The next moment, the battle between the quasi-saints broke out again. Chapter 86, Really Flattering Yourself. Boom! Nangong Chen punched the white dragon, and instantly the dragon let out a violent scream. Prince Ao Long's face was filled with fear. Only when he was actually faced with this punch did he realize how powerless he was, but it was too late. His huge dragon body flew straight down from the sky, golden blood kept flowing out, and his whole body slammed into the ground like a nuclear bomb. The vibrations caused by the earthquake shattered even the hills within 100 miles, and a deep pit was smashed into the ground. Prince Ao Long turned into a human form, dying, lying in a pool of blood, his eyes full of shock. At this moment, there was a question in his mind, which was why the body of a person with double pupils was so powerful. Facing Nangong Chen was like facing a monster, even more perverted than the offspring of a true dragon. Nangong Chen stood on the void, his black hair flying, and his white clothes were still peerless. There was a sense of dominance in his double pupils, and he was in high spirits, like a young king, dominating the world. He stepped on Prince Ao Long's head and humiliated him. Tell me, what is the basis for your arrogance? Countless people widened their eyes, not expecting such a result. They thought that the battle between the 8th and 10th on the heavenly ranking should be evenly matched, or even that Prince Ao Long would be better. But the result was that the one with double pupils crushed Prince Ao Long. This made them sigh. And in the void, the several quasi-saints of the Qianlong Immortal Dynasty were also affected when they saw the scene, and anger was spitting out of their eyes. But at the moment they were distracted, the 2 quasi-saints were killed directly. You dare to be distracted while fighting with us? You must be tired of living. Someone among the 8 generals sneered. The remaining 2 quasi-saints trembled upon seeing this, a deep fear welling up in their hearts. They said, you will definitely be punished for what you have done. The Qianlong Immortal Dynasty will definitely not let you go. After hearing this, the 8 generals' eyes remained cold, and it did not affect their sword movements at all. Ridiculous, now I feel scared. When the Red Sword God King saw Prince Ao Long being stepped on the head, he felt completely relieved and his eyes were full of passion. As expected, following the young master is the most correct choice. In the entire Xintian territory, only the young master would dare to humiliate Prince Ao Long like this. Lu Ruyan was very touched. Nangong Chen's arrival today really helped her vent her anger. Her beautiful eyes shone with a strange light as she looked at the man who looked like a banished immortal, with an indescribable feeling in her heart. In the distance, the king of Dezhou saw the scene and couldn't help but gasp in shock. He didn't expect that Nangong Chen would progress so quickly. It wouldn't be long before he would catch up with him. Thinking of this, King Zhou couldn't help but look gloomy, and he had a strong desire to kill Nangong Chen. No wonder Zhou Wan'er failed in the 9 Heavens secret realm. So this is what happened. Now that Nangong Chen's fate is sealed, we must not allow him to continue growing like this. We must think of a solution. King Zhou pondered and looked over there with resentment. Then, an idea emerged in his mind and he looked towards the Red Sword God King. If these 2 were killed, I'm afraid no one would know what Prince Ao Long and I talked about. In this way, he can prove his innocence. But before that, he had to kill a few people from the Qianlong Immortal Dynasty to gain their trust. All soldiers, listen to my orders, kill the rebels and assist the Tianyuan army. King Dezhou said to his millions of soldiers. After hearing this, the group of people were also confused. Your Majesty, didn't we want to kill the Tianyuan army before? A general asked, looking at the dark mass of soldiers in the void. As soon as these words were spoken, a white light appeared, and the general who spoke instantly had his head fly off and lost his life. When have I ever said such outrageous words? Tianyuan Mansion has always been a good ally of our Great Zhou. We should now be united against the common enemy. If I hear such words again, don't blame me for killing someone. King Dezhou said with a look of righteousness. After hearing this, the soldiers of the Great Zhou Dynasty were terrified. They hid their doubts in their hearts, and no one wanted to be the second to speak out. Yes. Everyone said in unison. King Dezhou nodded, then soared into the air and aimed at the last quasi-saint of Qianlong Immortal Dynasty. Boom! A small golden sword was extremely fast, carrying a trace of the imperial aura, and it actually killed the last dying quasi-saint with a sneak attack. Afterwards, the king of Great Zhou appeared in the void with a smile on his face. He said with a smile, "Thank you for your hard work, my dear generals. You have killed so many rebels for our Great Zhou. It is truly our Great Zhou's lifetime honor." After seeing this, the 8 generals also became alert and immediately distanced themselves from him. Who the hell is your favorite general? The other side. Prince Ao Long was stepped on, his face flushed red, and he felt extremely humiliated. He had never been insulted like this since he was a child. Let go of your stinky feet. Prince Ao Long said with gritted teeth, his face twisted. He swore that if he could return to the Immortal Dynasty, he would kill Nangong Chen's entire family. Do you really want to kill me? Nangong Chen sneered, constantly increasing his strength, with a hint of murderous intent emerging in his heart. He doesn't want to leave any trouble for himself. After seeing his last quasi-saint also die, Prince Ao Long felt powerless and said viciously, I still have 1 drop of holy dragon blood, which can allow me to be reborn in Nirvana in the Immortal Dynasty. Just wait. Nangong Chen frowned and kicked him, ending his life instantly. It's really troublesome that the disciples of these big families have so many tricks up their sleeves. But it doesn't matter. If I can kill him once, I can kill him a second time. Nangong Chen didn't think anymore and put his storage ring into his pocket. On the other side, the battle between the God Kings has ended. The 3 God Kings have all been killed, and the quasi-saints of the Qianlong immortal dynasty have also all died. However, what puzzled Nangong Chen was that the king of the Great Zhou led a 1,000,000-strong army but did not take any action and just stood there watching, which made him very angry. It was not until he saw the king of Great Zhou take action and kill a quasi-saint of the Qianlong immortal dynasty that Nangong Chen understood everything. Nangong Chen curled up his lips into a smile and walked away into the air. Seeing this, Zhuyan also followed Nangong Chen closely. When the king of Great Zhou saw Nangong Chen, he was very enthusiastic and wanted to get closer to give him a big hug. As expected of the son of the palace master, you were even more talented than your father when he was young. Nangong Chen stayed far away from him, and the 8 generals stood directly in front of him, looking at him vigilantly, not giving the king of Great Zhou a chance to get close. Upon seeing this, King Zhou was also somewhat embarrassed, but then he added, yesterday I heard that these sects were making friends with outsiders, so today I specially sent troops to wipe out these foreign enemies. I didn't expect you, my dear nephew, to be here too. Great, great. I never expected my nephew to be so brave and easily defeat the foreign enemies. I was stunned and couldn't react for a long time. His words were so seamless and with such a smile on his face, there was hardly any flaw in his words. At this moment, the faces of these 8 generals turned cold and they became more alert. There must be something fishy going on. Qian also heard something wrong, and just when he was about to tell Nangong Chen not to believe him, Nangong Chen spoke. Your reason is indeed very good, but who the hell is your nephew? You are really flattering yourself. Nangong Chen also laughed, but suddenly changed the subject and cursed coldly. Chapter 87, The Horror of Double Pupils, Severe Injury to King Zhou. King de Zhou's expression changed, his face became a little gloomy, and he burst out with his cultivation, wanting to turn around and run away. At this moment, he had a vague guess in his heart that the fact that he sent Su Wan'er to assassinate Nangong Chen had been leaked. Thinking of this, King Zhou's eyes were filled with resentment, and he kept cursing Zhou Wan'er in his heart. You are such a useless piece of trash, as useless as your dead mother. Want to run? It's too late. Nangong Chen sneered, his double pupils were extremely bright and emitted a faint light. The next moment, 8 generals came out together and surrounded the king of Zhou. Surrender, you will surely die today, even if you are at the peak of quasi-saint. Someone among the 8 generals said in a cold voice. The king of the Great Zhou has always been at the peak of the quasi-saint level. This is a recognized fact, known to everyone in the entire Great Zhou Dynasty. You are just a few quasi-saints, you can't stop me. King de Zhou laughed grimly, his aura surging continuously, and in the blink of an eye, he had reached the early stage of sainthood. After everyone felt it, they couldn't help but widen their eyes with a look of shock. You actually broke through to the saint realm, someone asked in surprise. The 8 great generals could not help but pay close attention, not daring to underestimate him in the slightest. You know, there is a huge difference between the saint realm and the quasi-saint realm, and the combat power they display is completely different. Below, the Red Sword God King was shocked. He never expected that the king of Great Zhou had become a saint. Young master is in trouble now. The king of Great Zhou has broken through to the realm of saint. The Red Sword God King shook his head and said solemnly. Lu Ruyan also opened her mouth slightly, her beautiful eyes filled with shock. Then what should Nangong Chen do? In the void, Nangong Chen looked calm, his face didn't fluctuate at all, and his eyes were still extremely intimidating. Upon seeing this, King Zhou couldn't help but feel furious, a murderous intent rising in his heart. If your Tianyuan Mansion had only dispatched these people today, you would have been killed. If you want to blame someone, blame yourself for being too evil. At this moment, he withdrew the idea of leaving and decided to kill Nangong Chen. No matter what the cost, he would make Tianyuan Mansion bleed heavily. As soon as he finished speaking, the aura of the emperor appeared around the king of Great Zhou. His breath was as deep as the abyss, and his divine light spread out, transforming into a golden cauldron, smashing down towards Nangong Chen. What was strange was that a wisp of black mist was floating around the imperial aura, as if it had been polluted. Not good. Protect the young master. The 8 generals reacted and took action instantly, blocking Nangong Chen. The power emanating from this huge cauldron was so overwhelming that it was far beyond their ability to stop. Shoot him in the right heart, Uncle Qi. At this moment, Nangong Chen's lips moved slightly, and he said lightly. Call out. The next moment, a white divine arrow broke through the air at an extremely fast speed, carrying supreme power, and shot towards the king of Zhou. In just a moment, the golden bell was directly blown up by the divine arrow, but the speed did not slow down at all, and it pierced through the body of King Zhou in an instant, and blood spurted out. King Zhou opened his eyes wide, and when he wanted to react, it was too late. He could only watch himself being pierced through the heart. But what surprised him most was how Nangong Chen knew that his heart was on the right side, something he had not told anyone. It was not until King Zhou saw Nangong Chen's eyes that he understood everything. It must be these weird eyes that are causing trouble. King Zhou's face turned ashen, and his eyes were spitting out anger. King de Zhou felt that his life force was slipping away, so he quickly pulled out the arrow that was stuck in his heart, and blood immediately gushed out. How does it feel to be pierced through the heart? Nangong Chen asked coldly, with a faint light emitting from his double pupils. At this moment, a figure appeared in the void. He had an old face, a huge bow in his hand, a pair of extremely sharp eyes, and an extremely powerful aura. This person is none other than Shi Yun, the heavenly Abyss Bao King. He has already entered the saint realm for many years. When the king of de Zhou saw this, he couldn't help but gasp, his eyes filled with shock. It's you! King Zhou said in a trembling voice, his tone full of fear. The arrow is highly poisonous. You won't live long. You'd better die obediently. Shi Yun ignored him and spoke to himself. As soon as he finished speaking, he pulled up the giant bough, and the immortal light was extremely bright, and a terrifying energy was brewing in the bough. After hearing this, King Zhou felt a chill in his heart and his face turned extremely pale. After he swallowed a precious medicine, the next moment, his life was burned and he fled backwards. He wants to return to the palace. The people of the Blood God cult will definitely find a way to solve the problem. At this moment, in order to survive, he used all his trump cards and increased his speed to an extreme. At the same time, the poison began to spread throughout the body from the blood. Uncle Chi, 3 inches from the right rib. At this moment, Nangong Chen spoke again, with runes intertwined in his double pupils, like a natural saint. Boom! The divine arrow shot out at such a speed that only a flash of light could be seen. It was extremely terrifying. The arrow seemed to have its own eyes. It followed closely behind King Zhou and pierced directly through his abdomen, which was the ribs that Nangong Chen mentioned. After being shot, King Zhou lost his ability to move and fell directly from the void into a forest. At this moment, everyone present was shocked when they saw this scene. Hiss. You know, in this kind of saint-level battle, if you can clearly understand the opponent's weaknesses, you can achieve a dimensionality reduction attack. They were extremely amazed in their hearts. They never thought that Nangong Chen had such ability in his double pupils. If the young master had not seen through the weakness of the king of Great Zhou today, a battle would probably have been inevitable. Nangong Chen was calm and composed, his eyes emitting a menacing light that attracted the attention of everyone present. Looking at those eyes that were like black holes, they felt a little trembling in their hearts and a sense of palpitations came over them. Just by taking a look, they felt as if their souls were being devoured, and they even wanted to kneel down. Young master, your eyes are truly amazing. Shi Yun praised from the bottom of his heart, looking at his double pupils with great envy. He is so enchanting even before he grows up. It is hard to imagine what the young master's eyes will become when he grows up. Fortunately, this monster is the son of the mansion lord. If it were any other force, even he would be terrified. Uncle Chi is a good shooter, he never misses a shot. Nangong Chen said with a smile, very modestly. Stop talking nonsense. If it weren't for you today, how could we have killed a saint so easily? Uncle Chi also laughed and said that what the young master did today must be made known to others. Nangong Chen's eyes flickered, his pupils blazing as he looked in the direction of King Zhou, frowning slightly. Just now, he saw the dying King Zhou actually took out a bottle of blood, drank something that looked like blood inside, and regained some life force before escaping. This made Nangong Chen feel something was wrong. Wasn't this the method of evil cultivators? Why would the king of Great Zhou do this? However, he did not think much about it, because the direction in which the king of Great Zhou fled was exactly the direction of the Great Zhou Imperial Palace. In short, no matter what, the king of Zhou must die today. Chapter 88 Rebel? As King de Zhou was shot to death, the whole place fell silent. The Red Sword God King regretted what he had said before. The young master is truly a god on earth. He never imagined that there was a saint from Tianyuan Mansion hidden in the void. At this moment, in the heart of the Red Sword God King, this terrifying Tianyuan Mansion seemed to be shrouded in a veil of mystery. Lu Ruyan breathed a sigh of relief. Seeing that Nangong Chen was safe and sound, she couldn't help but feel a little happy. Today's crisis has been completely resolved. Young master's divine power. At this moment, someone among the remaining disciples of the Scarlet Cloud Sword sect shouted. Immediately afterwards, the rest of the disciples on the entire mountain also shouted and looked at Nangong Chen with great admiration in their eyes. Young master's divine power. Today I can finally vent all the anxiety I've been suffering from these days. Nangong Chen stood in the void, dressed in white, and couldn't help but smile when he saw the scene. After all, this is the force under his command. It is naturally of great benefit to him that the people below are so submissive and worshipful to him. Red Sword God King, listen to my orders. Nangong Chen suddenly spoke. Here. The Red Sword God King shuddered all over, stood up and said respectfully. I order you to merge the remaining 3 sword sects into the Scarlet Cloud Sword sect. The 3 quasi-saint generals of the Tianyuan army will be at your disposal. You will also be accompanied by 50,000 Tianyuan soldiers. Do you have the confidence to accomplish this? Nangong Chen spoke slowly, his words shockingly. As soon as these words were spoken, all the disciples of the Scarlet Cloud Sword sect became excited, and their expressions were extremely thrilled. The young master wants the other 3 sword sects to strengthen their Qiyun sword sect. Lu Ruyan's beautiful eyes shone with a strange light, and her delicate body trembled slightly. It was obvious that she was also very excited inside. The Red Sword God King burst into tears, deeply moved, and responded loudly, I have the confidence to complete it. He didn't expect that Nangong Chen actually trusted him so much that he not only let him bring 3 quasi-saints with him, but also let him bring 50,000 Tianyuan soldiers. With such a luxurious configuration, if he can't conquer it, he will really be beheaded. If anyone resists, they will be killed without mercy. Nangong Chen added, his eyes flashing. Yes. The Red Sword God King responded respectfully. Soon, the Red Sword God King set out with 3 generals and 50,000 Tianyuan soldiers. Seeing this, Nangong Chen nodded in satisfaction. He thought that the Red Sword God King would not be disappointed by what he did. Then, Nangong Chen looked at the remaining million troops of the King of Great Zhou, and for a moment he didn't know what to do with them. Did they kill them all? As far as he knew, most of these Great Zhou soldiers were innocent civilians, many of them elderly veterans. If the beastly King of Great Zhou hadn't called them back this time, they would probably have been enjoying their old age at home. There are not many soldiers that actually belong to the King of Great Zhou. Most of them are good-looking but useless and pose no threat to him. The military power of the entire Great Zhou is controlled by Tianyuan Mansion. This is also why the King of the Great Zhou only dared to secretly recall these old soldiers, and did not dare to directly summon elite soldiers, because that required the review and processing of the Tianyuan Mansion. Nangong Chen slowly landed, then came in front of the million-strong army, cleared his throat, and asked, "Why are you here?" Seeing this, the Tianyuan army behind them also surrounded them, with grim expressions on their faces, to prevent these people from rioting. "Young master, His Majesty told us to come and kill the invading foreigners, so we came." At this moment, one of the older people spoke. After hearing this, Nangong Chen suddenly realized what was going on. They were really deceived. "Do you know why our Tianyuan Mansion wants to kill the King of the Great Zhou?" Nangong Chen asked again, his white clothes rustling and his temperament extraordinary. As soon as these words were spoken, some young people in the crowd shouted, "You people from Tianyuan Prefecture are traitors. Now that you have assassinated the King of Great Zhou, you have further solidified your reputation as traitors." Some younger people also echoed in an aggressive tone. After all, in the ideas that the King of the Great Zhou is always instilled, Tianyuan Mansion exists in this way. But more people remained silent because they were older and naturally knew much more than these young people. Nangong Chen frowned slightly, and soon, the Tianyuan army was dispatched to suppress these people to the ground, and the whole world returned to peace. "Traitors, this is ridiculous. I thought you had some brains, but you turned out to be so clueless. I'm so disappointed." Nangong Chen sneered and mocked them mercilessly. After hearing this, the soldiers of the Great Zhou Dynasty opened their eyes wide in anger, but dared not speak. Anyone would be angry if they were ridiculed like this by a junior. Soon, a beautiful figure flew over. She had black hair that reached her waist, delicate features, a graceful figure, and a green dress that made her look quite fairy-like. This person was Lu Ruyan. "Sorry, I'm late," Lu Ruyan said apologetically, and then she stretched out her bare hands and took out a projection stone. "No problem, let these idiots see what kind of person the King of Great Zhou they are talking about is." Nangong Chen waved his hand, not really caring. A stream of spiritual energy burst out from Lu Ruyan's fingertips, directly activating the projection stone. At this moment, under the witness of everyone, a projection appeared. The two people appearing in the picture were none other than the former King of Great Zhou and Prince Aolong. "I promise to help you destroy the forces behind the Double Pupil man. You will submit to the Qianlong Immortal Dynasty in the future, and the name of the country will also be changed. Do you have any objections?" In the picture, Prince Aolong said indifferently, with a condescending tone, as if giving alms, looking at King Zhou. Seeing this explosive scene, the soldiers in the Great Zhou army also widened their eyes. They simply couldn't believe that their majesty was so servile in front of this young man, like a servant. After seeing this, the Great Zhou army and others were also furious for a moment and started to speak out. "Who is this man? How dare he put forward such an outrageous offer? I believe your majesty will definitely not agree." "That's right, it's ridiculous. They want us to obey Qianlong Xianqiao, that's fine, but they even want us to change the name of our country. Who would agree to that? I believe in your majesty. Your majesty will definitely scold this arrogant young man harshly later." These people showed disdain on their faces and did not believe that the King of Zhou would agree to such an absurd request. After all, this is no different from selling out one's country. Nangong Chen sneered in his heart when he saw this scene. "You won't say that later." In the picture, King Zhou thought for a while and then quickly answered. When everyone saw the scene, they couldn't help but hold their breath, wanting to see what the King of Zhou would say. Chapter 89, Passing on the Torch, Sign and Rewards. "My lord, you are joking. Just obey my lord in everything." The King of Zhou in the picture hesitated for a moment, but still smiled and agreed. At this moment, after seeing this, the pupils of the Great Zhou army shrank slightly and they looked incredulous. The King of Zhou, who they thought was patriotic and loved his people, turned out to be this kind of person. In order to destroy Tianyuan Prefecture, they would even surrender de Zhou to other forces, to the point of humiliation that even the country's name had to be changed. The whole audience was silent. There were a few questioning voices just now, but now, there is not a single sound at all. "Well done. What a mediocre man. Well done to the young master." Soon, an old soldier in the crowd shouted loudly with tears in his eyes. After hearing this, the others also reacted, and their hearts were filled with anger. It's a pity that they had been loyal to the King of Zhou for so long, but in the end, they were loyal to a mediocre king. Good death. People like this should go to hell. Letting this bastard emperor die too easily, he should be tortured to death by slicing, or even sent to the 99 levels of hell. He is truly cold-blooded and heartless. If the young master hadn't let us know the truth today, I'm afraid we would continue to be deceived by this bastard emperor in the future. Everyone was furious, their eyes red, and they cursed loudly. And those young people who had just been speaking up for the king of Great Zhou were now slapping themselves frantically, saying, I'm not a human, I'm not a human. I'm a pig. Thinking about how they had just questioned Nangong Chen and even insulted him as a traitor, they wished they could slap themselves to death. When Nangong Chen saw this scene, he shook his head with a look of disappointment on his face. Are these young people wrong? On the contrary, they are not wrong. They just want to serve the Great Zhou. The only thing is that there is a lack of thinking in dialectics, and people just rush in with passion, which makes it easy for others to use them as tools. You need to study more. Nangong Chen couldn't help but sigh. That's right. After hearing this, Lu Ruyan, who was standing by, echoed the sentiment with a look of approval on her face. If she were these people, she would definitely not be easily deceived. Nangong Chen glanced at her speechlessly. What are you agreeing with? Aren't you still big-breasted and brainless? Alright, even if you're beaten into pigs' heads, I won't pity you one bit. Nangong Chen said lightly, looking at the young soldiers. After these words fell, the soldiers of the Great Zhou Dynasty gradually calmed down, whether they were veterans or recruits. Their faces were filled with guilt as they thought about what disrespectful words they had just said to Nangong Chen. The young master didn't seem to be too angry with them, which made them change their impression of Nangong Chen. The young master seems to be a good person? Do you know why I say you are stupid? Nangong Chen said indifferently, looking down at him. No one wanted to refute anymore and lowered their heads in guilt. At this moment, they were willing to do it. Young master, we know we were wrong. Everyone said in unison, their tone full of remorse. It's a good thing you didn't cause a disaster and turn the blades in your hands against your own people. Forget it, you guys should just disband. You are all a bunch of guys who need to retire. You are so old, you should just rest and recuperate at home. Nangong Chen waved his hand and turned to leave. After seeing this, the Tianyuan army also put away their swords and shields and followed Nangong Chen. Although these words are cold, they are also full of humanity. After hearing this, the expressions on the faces of these veterans became more and more lonely, just like the setting sun. If they really did something wrong today, I'm afraid they would never forgive themselves for the rest of their lives. Sure enough, they are old, and this era no longer belongs to them. Just when the atmosphere was getting gloomy, a childish voice rang out from the crowd. Young master, can we join the Tianyuan army in the future? A boy of about 15 or 16, with a slightly red face, spoke. It can be seen how much courage he had to say it. Beside him, there was a group of young people of the same age as him, their eyes were pure and full of longing. However, Nangong Chen and the others had already gone far away, and the world was silent, with no one responding for a long time. After seeing this, the group of teenagers gritted their teeth, their eyes were filled with loss, and they felt very powerless. After seeing this scene, everyone felt a little guilty. It seems that what they did today still made the young master angry. It's such a pity for these idiots. At this moment, a voice sounded, not very loud, but it echoed in everyone's ears. Read more books, don't be too stupid in Tianyuan Mansion. In front, Nangong Chen, who had already walked far away, stopped and spoke softly. After hearing this, the group of teenagers were stunned at first, but after they understood, they showed their white teeth and smiled brightly. The young master did not reject them, and they can still join the Tianyuan army in the future. At this moment, a ray of setting sun happened to fall on the simple faces of these young people, very fiery red, just like a slowly rising red sun. When these veterans saw this, they trembled all over, and then their eyes lit up. Their decline does not mean that the Great Zhou has lost hope. On the contrary, a strong dynasty should be one where the torch is passed on from generation to generation and the old takes over. Just like in the front, the bright sunset shines on Nangong Chen's straight back. With such an outstanding figure as the young master among the younger generation, there is no need to worry about the prosperity of the Great Zhou. This group of veterans figured it out and left with smiles on their faces. Ding! Sign into the heavenly dragon vein, the imperial dragon vein, the divine artifact, the human emperor sword. A cold voice suddenly sounded in my mind. At this moment, in the main hall of the Red Flame Sword Sect, Nangong Chen was sitting on the purple gold chair, a little stunned. I didn't expect that the rewards for signing into the Scarlet Cloud Sword Sect would be the imperial dragon vein and the human emperor sword. Nangong Chen's eyes flickered, and his heart was filled with turbulent waves. Dragon veins are divided into 4 levels in total, namely Yellow level, Mysterious level, Earth level, and Sky level. And the heavenly stage is the highest. As far as he knew, the dragon vein of the Great Zhou Dynasty seemed to be just a short dragon vein. The imperial spirit in it was very withered, and even the luck was the same, which could not even transform into a dragon. Some people even say that the dragon vein of the Great Zhou is not even of the yellow grade. Even in the Xiantian realm, the strongest immortal dynasties are only Shen-level dragon veins. Even so, they can still dominate the world. And in the 9 heavens of the upper realm, it is said that some powerful divine dynasties are only at the Earth level. According to this heavenly grade dragon vein? How terrifying would it be? Nangong Chen suppressed the shock in his heart and thought. Dragon veins are of vital importance to a dynasty, as they determine the strength of a dynasty. A good dragon vein can not only make the dynasty prosperous, with countless geniuses and strong men running rampant, but also enable the contemporary monarch to enjoy the fortune of the dynasty, use the fortune to practice and fight, and become extremely powerful. In short, the benefits brought by a good dragon vein are numerous, not to mention this heavenly dragon vein. Chapter 90 Suli arrives. Nangong Chen pondered and didn't know what to do with this imperial dragon vein for a while. Isn't this a clear hint that he's going to become emperor? But he's a good citizen, how could he do something so outrageous? Then, Nangong Chen looked at the second reward in his mind, the artifact human emperor sword. I didn't expect that the first weapon as a reward would be a divine weapon, and I didn't expect that it would be the legendary human emperor sword. Seeing the domineering golden holy sword in his mind, Nangong Chen couldn't help but feel excited and his eyes were shocked. This holy sword radiates golden light and is surrounded by a strong aura of the emperor. It can even transform into a golden dragon that swims around the sword. The sword blade is also extraordinary. When you get close to it, you can feel a sword intent that soars into the sky. Nangong Chen could already imagine himself wielding this sword. Covered in golden light, just like in the legend of the previous life, any sword strike would result in a full screen of critical hits. That's called pretending. However, with his current strength, it would be too difficult for him to master the human emperor sword. Just as Nangong Chen was thinking, footsteps were heard outside the hall. After hearing this, Lu Ruyan, who was standing by, finally breathed a sigh of relief. She was very nervous just now, and she didn't know how to find a topic to talk about with Nangong Chen, and her ears were very flushed. After all, this was her first time being in the same room with a man, and strangely, her body didn't feel the slightest bit of disgust, but instead had a strange feeling. It's a strange feeling, indescribable. But fortunately, it doesn't have to be so embarrassing now. Then, she looked at Nangong Chen with a smile on her lips, thinking to herself, I am so beautiful, being with me, I am afraid his heart must have been beating fast, hee. Maybe the one who is more shy than me is Nangong Chen. Thinking of this, a playful look appeared in Lu Ruyan's beautiful eyes as she looked at Nangong Chen. She would only reveal her true nature in front of people she knew, and would not be as aloof and cold as she appeared. After seeing Nangong Chen, Lu Ruyan was stunned. She didn't expect that Nangong Chen was in a daze while staying with her. That's right, although Nangong Chen looked calm at the moment, looking forward as if he was in deep thought, when Lu Ruyan actually walked in front of him, she would find that this guy was actually in a daze. And she maintained the same posture. Even when she waved her hand twice in front of Nangong Chen, he remained unmoved. Lu Ruyan was a little upset. My face had been red for so long, and you were just standing there in a daze? Suddenly she saw Nangong Chen's handsome face and his thin lips as if cut by a knife. When Lu Ruyan saw this scene, she immediately turned her face away, and a blush appeared on her fair ears again. Obviously, she had some inappropriate things in her mind. Soon, an evil idea emerged in Lu Ruyan's mind. She found a brush from somewhere, walked quietly to Nangong Chen, and a smile appeared in her beautiful eyes. She wanted to draw something on Nangong Chen's face. Who told him to be in a daze? A beautiful woman like a flower was next to him, but he was still in a daze. How hateful. When Lu Ruyan was about to paint on Nangong Chen's face, she suddenly stopped. The brush stopped very close to Nangong Chen's face. She suddenly realized that if this face was painted, it would not look good. Thinking of this, Lu Ruyan prepared to stop and retreat. At this moment, Nangong Chen suddenly came back to his senses, grabbed Lu Ruyan's hand, and asked coldly, "What are you going to do?" The distance between the two was so close that Lu Ruyan could even feel the warm breath coming from Nangong Chen. At this moment, three beautiful figures landed outside the hall. It was Suli, Wang Yuxuan, and Zhou Waner. Suli's silver hair fell on her shoulders, and her fairy-like face made people linger at first sight. Her eyebrows were like ink paintings, and her eyes were like stars. Between its eyebrows, there is an ice phoenix mark, which makes it look even colder and more noble, just like a fairy in the moon palace. Beneath the skirt, the jade feet are wrapped in white, emitting a crystal luster that makes people want to play with them. The two women on the side, although not as powerful as Suli, still have their own strengths and characteristics. Wang Yuxuan is like a girl next door, wearing a light yellow dress and has a very pure face, especially her bright big eyes, which now have a hint of charm, and this feeling makes people unable to stop. Zhou Waner, as always, wore the luxurious black dress, with her shoulders exposed. Her skin was as delicate as snow, and the long black dress perfectly outlined her curvy figure. Anyone who sees this scene will be filled with joy and unwilling to leave. You know, this is the first time that Zhou Mei and Zhou meet. Outside the door, the disciples passing by were stunned and looked dazed after seeing this. Oh my god, who are these three? They are so beautiful. A new disciple couldn't help but ask after seeing them. You probably don't know this, but the one with silver hair is the young master's Taoist companion, the goddess of our eastern divine province. She's very famous. As for the other two beauties, one is the little princess of the Wang family, and the other one looks a little familiar, but I forgot who she is. An older disciple explained. So, they all have an unclear relationship with the young master, the young disciple asked. Nonsense. The people around him looked at him as if he were a fool. Afterwards, everyone turned their gaze towards the main hall with envy in their eyes. I'm afraid that only the young master can have so many beauties around him. And these are not just simple beauties, each of them is the most stunning beauty in the world. Alas, comparing yourself to others is so frustrating. I can't even envy them. After a long time, someone sighed. Hey, have you noticed that the beauty in the black dress seems to be the seventh princess? A disciple suddenly spoke up. It seems to be true. I noticed it too, another disciple echoed. Everyone looked at each other, their eyes flashing with excitement, as if they had discovered something explosive. Suli walked slowly into the hall, with a hint of deep worry in her beautiful eyes. It was obvious that she came for Nangong Chen's safety. She didn't know what had happened to her husband. Just now, she learned that the king of the Great Zhou had secretly broken through to the Saint realm. This was a huge variable. Thinking of this, Suli couldn't help but quicken her pace, and her snow-white skirt fluttered. Seeing this scene, Xiao looked helpless and couldn't help but said, "My aunt, please walk slower. The jade pendant is shaking back and forth, making me dizzy. That guy is definitely fine. Who knows, he might still be dating other women right now." Xiao was still chattering. Chapter 91 Shura Field, News from King Zhou. After Suli came in and saw the scene, she was stunned for a moment. Her beautiful face suddenly became gloomy, and the light in her beautiful eyes gradually dimmed, as if she was about to turn evil. An extremely cold aura emanated from her body, instantly freezing the surroundings of the hall. Anyone with a discerning eye could see that Suli was really angry. Xiao was still chattering on the side, when she suddenly felt a cold breath coming, which made her soul tremble. I hope I'm right. Xiao said subconsciously, until she saw the scene in front of her, she immediately shut up. Xiao widened her eyes and secretly gave Nangong Chen a thumbs up. You dare to play so extravagantly in front of the queen. It seems you are risking your life. Wang Yuxuan and Zhou Waner, who were standing by, were also stunned when they saw the scene. They didn't expect that Nangong Chen and Lu Ruyan were still having an affair. This really refreshed their worldview. On the other hand, Nangong Chen and Lu Ruyan maintained a very ambiguous posture. To outsiders, the two of them looked like a close couple. Hearing Nangong Chen's question, Lu Ruyan remained silent. Feeling the man's scent, her eyes gradually became blurred. Nangong Chen was about to curse when he heard footsteps. He turned around and met Suli's gaze. Feeling a lingering murderous aura, Nangong Chen secretly said, "It's over." He immediately pushed Lu Ruyan's delicate body away, turned around and said with a wry smile, "I said this was just an accident, do you believe me, ma'am?" Lu Ruyan, who was standing by, was clearly still a little unresponsive after being pushed away. Her pretty face flushed, her eyes a little confused, and she asked coquettishly, "What are you doing?" As soon as these words came out, the last bit of light in Su Limei's eyes disappeared, and her beautiful face suddenly darkened. She clenched her hands and said in a deep voice, "I'll give you one last chance to explain. If you can't explain it clearly, you just wait." Then, Suli took out the sword, crossed his arms over his chest, and looked at the two men coldly, as if he was going to fight if they didn't explain clearly. Wang Yuxuan and Zhou Waner, who were standing by, had bright eyes and looked like they were enjoying melons. The only thing they lacked was a small stool and melon seeds. At this moment, they also understood one thing. As expected, the contents of the novels were all based on reality. The ancients were not deceiving them. This was too exciting. After hearing this, Nangong Chen breathed a sigh of relief. Fortunately, Suli was still rational. If she was the legendary Yandere, she would have probably taken action by now. But the current situation is not much better. At this time, Lu Ruyan's eyes became clearer. She glanced around and said to herself, "Oh no. Dead, I feel like I'm in big trouble." I was lost in thought for a moment, and when I came to, I saw her acting suspiciously, so I caught her. That's what you just saw. But I can assure you that nothing happened between us just now. Nangong Chen thought for a while and said sincerely. Then he looked at Lu Ruyan and asked, "Hey, what were you doing sneaking around with the brush just now?" After hearing this answer, Suli was quite satisfied and his expression relaxed a lot. He then turned his gaze to Lu Ruyan. For a moment, everyone's eyes were focused on Lu Ruyan, even Xiao. In her previous life, as an empress, she was always fighting and killing. It was not as interesting as it is now. After hearing this, Lu Ruyan blushed a little. After all, she just wanted to draw a turtle on Nangong Chen's face because she was bored on a whim. If I tell them, I'm afraid they will laugh at me. What should I do? Should I tell him or not? For a moment, Lu Ruyan's ears turned red, like a ripe red apple, and there was some hesitation in her eyes. When the girls saw this, their beautiful eyes lit up and they secretly thought there was hope. It seems that these two people really have some unclear stories. When Suli saw this, his face darkened and he asked, I'm asking you a question. Are you mute? Feeling the pressure from the queen, not only Lu Ruyan, but also Wang Yuxuan and Zhou Waner were trembling. It's too scary when the goddess gets angry. Lu Ruyan was stunned by this. After she came to her senses, her eyes were red. Then she said timidly, I was just bored for a moment, and when I saw Nangong Chen in a daze, I wanted to draw a turtle on his face. Who knew he would suddenly wake up and catch me? Her voice was delicate, her head was lowered, and she looked so pitiful that it made people feel a little distressed. When Nangong Chen heard her resentful tone, he frowned and was speechless. Is it wrong for me to wake up? But Lu Ruyan is really idle. She even wants to draw a turtle on his handsome face. She must be jealous of his handsome face. It seems that boys have to protect themselves well when going out in the future. You want to draw a turtle for me? Is it wrong for me to catch you? Nangong Chen couldn't help but speak. But I don't want to draw turtles for you anymore. Lu Ruyan defended in a low voice. You're crazy. Nangong Chen was speechless. After these words were spoken, several women couldn't hold back their laughter. Even the Empress Qi was laughing so hard that she fell backwards, and a hint of spring light was revealed under her red skirt. Although Suli didn't smile, her expression relaxed a little and she returned to her normal self. Okay, since you are so sincere, I won't make things difficult for you. Suli spoke slowly with the air of a queen. Thank you, goddess. I'm really sorry for causing you misunderstandings today. Lu Ruyan expressed her sincere gratitude. Suli didn't say anything, just nodded slightly, and her beautiful facial features regained their spirit. When Nangong Chen saw this scene, his eyes flashed and the corners of his mouth curled up secretly. Lu Ruyan is indeed not a bad person at heart, and there is quite a contrast. She looks like a female swordsman on the outside, but is as innocent as a child on the inside. Thinking about the novels she read in her previous life, she was considered a good Lu Ruyan. Compared with other clones, she was not hateful. I wonder why my lady came here today. Nangong Chen suddenly thought of it and spoke. After hearing this, Suli frowned slightly and asked, Can't I come if I'm fine? Do you have another woman behind my back? No, come on, my lady. It's just that your husband is worried about your safety. Nangong Chen smiled awkwardly. When Lu Ruyan saw this scene, her beautiful eyes lit up and she felt a little surprised. She didn't expect that the young master of Tianyuan Mansion, who was so domineering outside, was so afraid of his Taoist partner. After hearing this, Suli was somewhat satisfied, and then casually said, Uncle Nangong said that the king of Great Zhou has broken through to the saint level. He came to tell you because he was afraid that someone didn't know. Nangong Chen smiled. He naturally understood what Suli said, and his heart suddenly felt warm. He whispered, We've nearly beaten the king of Dezhou to death. He probably doesn't know where to escape now. When these words were spoken, the women looked shocked. Chapter 92 Ansu. Really? Zhou Waner's reaction was the most intense. She stared at Nangong Chen with her beautiful eyes and asked. She wants the king of Zhou to die more than anyone else. Of course it's true. I saw it with my own eyes. The king of Great Zhou was shot to death by a saint from Tianyuan Mansion. An arrow pierced his heart, and the arrow was even poisoned. He was in a terrible state. Later, during his hasty escape, he was hit by several more arrows. However, the young master also played an indispensable role in his being hit by so many fatal arrows. Lu Ruyan spoke slowly. After hearing this, everyone was extremely curious. They actually said that Nangong Chen made an indispensable contribution. Could something else have happened? Lu Ruyan quickly explained, Young master's double pupils can even see through the Great Zhou King's weaknesses, and have provided a great deal of help to the saint of Tianyuan Mansion. After hearing this, the girl suddenly realized what was going on. It's just a little trick. How can I call upon the gods so much? If I rely on myself, I can't kill the king of Zhou. Nangong Chen said modestly, and did not take all the credit on himself. Suli couldn't help but look up to Nangong Chen, feeling very satisfied. He is indeed my man, he is really strong. Wang Yuxuan looked at Nangong Chen with fiery eyes and a look of admiration. Zhou Waner's fair face and beautiful eyes were filled with excitement, and her heart was very grateful. She knew that Nangong Chen must have tried so hard to kill the king of Great Zhou for her. At this moment, Zhou Waner secretly swore in her heart that she would obey Nangong Chen's words in the future and would never have any second thoughts. What a pity! It would be great if I could see the king of Zhou die with my own eyes. Zhou Waner said with some regret. After all, this was her lifelong grudge. At this moment, a voice suddenly came into Nangong Chen's mind. Young master, we have found the hiding place of the king of Great Zhou, inside the imperial palace. The person who spoke was Nangong Chen's protector, Mu Lao. After hearing this, Nangong Chen's eyes flashed and he responded, Okay, I'll go over there now. Don't feel bad. The king of Great Zhou's hiding place has been revealed. It's inside the palace. He will definitely die today. Come on, I'll take you there. Nangong Chen stood up and spoke to the women. Joanna was stunned, her pupils shrank slightly, and she was deeply moved. She didn't expect that Nangong Chen would really fulfill her wish, which made her even more determined to dedicate everything she had to the young master in the future. At this moment, a streak of light flashed across the sky above the imperial capital. A huge dragon was pulling a silver chariot, looking extremely domineering. When everyone saw it, they were all shocked. This is the second time I've seen him today. Who is the person from Tianyuan Mansion in this chariot? Hiss. The aura of this red dragon is not that of an ordinary beast. I'm afraid it has reached the quasi-saint realm. Everyone was talking about it, and everyone's tone was filled with shock. At this moment, a riot was taking place in front of the Great Zhou Palace. The Imperial Palace is a forbidden area. All of you outsiders, please retreat immediately. Don't force me to use force later. General Hong is still on his way. In front of the palace gate, an armored city soldier spoke. His face was extremely grim and there was a hint of impatience in his tone. My son, a family of 3 children have all been sent to the palace. It's been 5 months, and there's no news at all. My lord, I don't want to disturb you. I just want to see my child. Please. A middle-aged woman holding a cloth bag pleaded bitterly, her voice a little hoarse, and her coat was covered with dust. Her last name was Su, and everyone called her Aunt Su, or Widow Su. She was just a farmer from another state. In order to see her child, she traveled thousands of kilometers across mountains and rivers to come to the imperial capital. The reason for this was that 5 months ago, the king of the Great Zhou suddenly issued a policy requiring all children under the age of 10 to go to the palace for training for 3 months. If they refused, it would be considered illegal and they would be thrown into jail. As civilians, they had no power and influence, so naturally they could only hand their children over to the city soldiers and then send them to the palace. Now, 3 months have passed early, and even today, it has been more than 2 months, and they have not seen their child come out, which led to the scene before our eyes. After Su Jing spoke up first, the other parents also spoke up after seeing it. Yes, sir, I only have 1 child. I have been sent to the palace for 5 months, and I have not received any letters. I am afraid that something unexpected will happen. Please be merciful and make some allowances. Sir, I have some silver here too. If you don't mind, please let me meet my Huzi. I just want my child to tell me that he's safe. He's been without parents since he was young. Now that I'm old, I just want to see him before I die. Most of those who spoke were middle-aged parents. Of course, there were also a small number of elderly people over 60 years old. Their skin was dry, their faces were dark, and their clothes were stained with mud and dust. It was obvious that they had been begging for a long time, even more than a month. When the city soldier saw the riot, he glared at Aunt Su. If it weren't for her, would these people be like this? Thinking of this, his eyes were filled with anger. He walked straight to Aunt Su and kicked her. Aunt Su was kicked hard. Her face turned pale, blood flowed from the corner of her mouth, and her internal organs were severely damaged. She was just a commoner with low cultivation level, how could she be a match for these powerful city troops? Without treatment, she would have died soon. For a moment, Aunt Su curled up on the ground, wailing softly, her face full of pain, and she held the sack tightly in her arms. Because the sack contained money for her children and some clothes, which were very important to her. You're just a bad mouth. The tall city soldier cursed angrily. He hated these civilians from other places the most. It's so despicable and disgusting. When everyone saw this scene, their pupils shrank slightly and their hearts began to beat fast. They looked at Aunt Su with heartache, but most people did not dare to help her for fear of becoming the next target of the beating. They all knew that Aunt Su was a widow who had worked hard to raise 2 children, and those 2 children were literally her lifeblood. At this moment, silence returned in front of the palace. Soon, a man in armor arrived. He was tall and strong, with cold eyes and a stern face. He had a big sword hanging around his waist and looked very majestic. Who was causing trouble just now? General Hong asked as soon as he came out. No one dared to speak, because the aura emanating from this general was too powerful, and they were all trembling with fear. When Aunt Su saw this, her eyes lit up, as if she had seen a ray of hope. She endured the pain, slowly crawled over, hugged his legs, and begged. Sir, can I see my child? She was disheveled, dirty, and even had bloodstains on her face. Only her pair of bloodshot eyes were clear. Chapter 93 Nangong Chen arrives and Aunt Su is saved. General Hong's face flashed with displeasure, and he subconsciously wanted to get rid of this untouchable. Aunt Su was blown away by this huge force and fell to the ground. She spat out a mouthful of blood and her face became even paler. She curled up in pain, hugging her legs, her body trembling. If there were a doctor here, he would definitely be able to see that this huge force directly shattered her lower limbs. Aunt Sue looked gloomy. She didn't know what she had done wrong. She just wanted to see the child she missed so much, so why was she treated like this? When everyone saw this scene, their pupils shrank slightly, a chill surged in their hearts, and they remained silent. Even if they wanted to help, they were powerless. When the city soldier saw this, he looked very relieved. He pointed at Aunt Sue and said, "Master Hong, it was her. She was the one making a fuss in front of the palace and leading these civilians." "I didn't, sir, I just wanted to see my child, what's wrong with that?" Aunt Sue said in a trembling voice, with an unyielding look in her eyes. After hearing this, General Hong nodded, drew the broadsword from his waist, and walked towards Aunt Sue, with a murderous look in his eyes. "Your mistake is that you led the riot outside the palace. This is a forbidden area, and you will not be tolerated for your rash behavior. I will behead you now and let everyone see who dares to do this again." As soon as these words were spoken, everyone's faces changed drastically and they were very shocked. They had not expected that this general would actually kill someone. When the city soldiers saw this, they sneered and looked like they were watching a show, looking very superior. Aunt Sue had disheveled hair. When she heard that she was going to die, fear first appeared in her eyes, and then she gritted her teeth and crawled with difficulty on one hand. Her gray nails dragged blood all over the ground because she was using too much force. Even so, she still held the sack tightly in her hands. She didn't want to die yet. She wanted to see her children for the last time and hand the sack in her hand to them. At this time, General Hong had already walked in front of her, his eyes were indifferent and his face was ruthless. He raised the broadsword in his hand and slowly lowered it. When everyone saw this scene, they couldn't bear it and closed their eyes, not wanting to see such a cruel scene. Among these parents, some younger ones quietly retreated because they did not want to be involved in the trouble. They were younger than others and could still have more children. This is human nature, and it is fully reflected at this moment. Aunt Sue looked desperate as she watched the knife falling towards her, but she was powerless to do anything. Boom! At this moment, a flash of red flame fell from the sky with terrifying power, instantly shattering the broadsword, and General Hong also flew backwards. This moment happened so quickly that many people didn't react. Aunt Sue also widened her eyes and looked up at the sky. "I saw a dragon covered in flames, looking here at the moment, with its domineering eyes filled with coldness, and behind it was a luxurious silver chariot." "Who is it?" General Hong asked angrily with a pale face. He wanted to see who it was who dared to attack him in front of the palace and shattered his favorite sword. He was determined to make him suffer the consequences today. The city soldiers on the side were stunned at this time, looking up at the sky in shock. Behind the silver chariot, a figure in white walked out, walking in the air. Divine light was emanating from his body, and a layer of faint fairy air surrounded him, as if a true immortal had just come out to the world. Behind him were 4 stunningly beautiful women, each of them extremely graceful and charming. For a moment, the world seemed a little dim. "It's me, what do you want?" Nangong Chen questioned with his eyes extremely cold. "Although I don't know what happened, I can guess a lot from what they said." Suli and the others all had cold eyes, as if they were looking at dead people. General Hong was shocked. He didn't expect that the person who took action was the young master of Tianyuan Mansion, Nangong Chen, who has been in the news recently. He is just a small general in the palace, how can his status be compared with that of Tianyuan Mansion? For a moment, his face turned pale, cold sweat kept pouring down, and he actually fell to his knees on the ground with a thud, kowtowing and begging for mercy. "Master, spare me, I didn't know it was you." The city soldiers standing by didn't dare to say a word when they saw this, and just stood there trembling. "Forgive you? Who can forgive this mother?" Nangong Chen sneered and glanced at Aunt Sue, who was curled up on the ground. These officials and soldiers of the Great Zhou Dynasty abused their power and killed innocent people indiscriminately. They are really terrible. Boom! The next moment, a divine light came down. The golden light was so bright that it directly turned General Hong into a bloody mist. Everyone looked at this scene with dull eyes. The rumored arrogant and domineering young master of Tianyuan Mansion actually stood up for them? They are not stupid. They can guess this identity from General Hong's call of young master. In the entire Great Zhou, the only young master who could make General Hong kneel down and beg for mercy is probably Nangong Chen. He saw that the city soldier was trembling just now, and he finally understood that this young master might help the mother. And he had just kicked Aunt Sue. Thinking of this, his face turned pale and he wished he could turn back time and space so that he could take back that kick. Aunt Sue was even more grateful. She didn't know what to say for a moment, and her eyes were red. "Thank you so much, sir." Nangong Chen glanced at her with a serious expression. This person's internal organs were severely damaged, even the bones in her legs were shattered, and her life force was fading. Logically speaking, any man who suffered such a terrible injury would probably scream in pain and faint from the pain. But what kind of willpower did this man have to be able to stay so lucid and speak? Thinking of this, Nangong Chen felt both curious and admiring. Nangong Chen took out a pill and whispered some instructions to Wang Yuxuan. After hearing this, Wang Yuxuan's pupils shrank slightly. She immediately flashed in front of Aunt Su and put the pill into her mouth. Then, a green fluorescent light appeared in her hand, and a vitality force emerged. She was born with a spiritual body and learned a lot of medical skills in her past. It was very easy for her to treat an ordinary person. After seeing this, the girls were also suddenly enlightened and then went to help Wang Yuxuan. "Auntie, do you remember who else hit you?" Nangong Chen asked. He could clearly see that there were two different forces in her body. Obviously, there was another person. After hearing this, Aunt Su also glanced at the city soldier, with a trace of pity in her eyes. Forget it, I'm not seriously injured." "Thank you very much, young master." Nangong Chen also followed his gaze and saw a city soldier standing there with a panicked look. At this moment, thousands of soldiers emerged from the palace. They had grim expressions and held weapons in their hands, surrounding Nangong Chen and others. Chapter 94, The Spring and Autumn God King appears. "You bold thief, how dare you commit a crime in the palace? I think you are tired of living." The leading general shouted loudly with a fierce look on his face. Just now, their city army learned that someone had attacked outside the palace and killed a general. When these civilians saw this, they were also filled with fear and lowered their heads. "General Chao, save me." When the tall city soldier saw the newcomers, he quickly shouted and hid behind them. As far as he knew, these generals were all at the powerful level and could definitely protect him. General Chao was filled with murderous intent and anger, and asked, "Who is it?" The city soldier didn't dare to speak. The next moment, a ray of lightning appeared, extremely fast and powerful, and directly swallowed up the tall city soldier. Boom! A blood mist emerged. The city soldier who had just kicked Aunt Su was completely killed and nothing was left. The soldiers who came here from the city were all shocked, even General Chao was frightened, he shuddered violently. "Master, absolutely a master." Thinking of this, he felt a little uneasy and looked up. Nangong Chen's fingertips were covered with lightning, his white clothes were rustling, and he exuded an astonishing aura. General Chao was stunned, his eyes wide open, unable to believe it. For a moment, he couldn't even speak clearly. "Young master, it's actually you." "Why, are you surprised?" Nangong Chen looked calm and disdainful. He must break into the palace today, and no one can stop him. General Chao didn't dare to respond. His body was shaking and the arrogance on his face was gone. He wanted to turn around and leave, because a person of Nangong Chen's level was not someone he, a small general, could communicate with, and Nangong Chen was now very aggressive. When the soldiers behind him saw this, they didn't know what to do for a moment. They stood there stupidly, unable to hold the weapons in their hands. At this moment, a sharp and feminine voice was heard. "Young master, now that the man has been killed and the anger has subsided, isn't it time to leave?" Suddenly, a powerful figure appeared in the void. After everyone saw it clearly, they were shocked. This man wore a purple official hat, had an old body, and deep eyes. He was the #1 eunuch in the Great Zhou Dynasty, known as the God King of the Spring and Autumn period. The God King of Spring and Autumn stared at Nangong Chen and spoke slowly, with an obvious threat in his tone. At this moment, the commotion in front of the palace also attracted many dignitaries and nobles to come and watch. Most of them are famous forces in the Great Zhou. Some are members of the royal family, and some are from first-class families. In short, they are famous in the Great Zhou and are all overlords. Not far away, the heads of the Su family and the Wang family were watching this scene with great interest. "This old thing dares to threaten my son-in-law like this. If I were also a god king, I would definitely skin him alive," Su Ming said indignantly. After hearing this, Wang Xiong ignored his nonsense and said to himself, "Why didn't your son-in-law bring anyone with him? If he were alone, he might have suffered a lot today. After all, the Spring and Autumn Divine King has always been at odds with the Tianyuan Mansion. Yeah, this kid, why is he so careless? If he brings some strong men from Tianyuan Mansion here, this Spring and Autumn God King will be nothing." Su Ming also showed a worried look, after all, his daughter was there. The other side. Nangong Chen frowned when he heard such threatening words and said mercilessly, "A eunuch dares to ask me to leave, are you worthy?" When these words were spoken, everyone was shocked. They couldn't believe that Nangong Chen would actually curse directly. The spies who were watching secretly were also shocked when they saw it. Su Ming and Wang Xiong were even more stunned, with a look of surprise on their faces. "Your son-in-law is so awesome." Wang Xiong sighed. "No, he has always been like this." Su Ming shook his head and explained. The city soldiers trembled and shook all over. They knew that the Spring and Autumn God King hated being called a eunuch the most. Now Nangong Chen's words undoubtedly crossed his red line. In the void, the Spring and Autumn God King had a frighteningly gloomy expression on his face. Throughout his life, he hated being called a eunuch the most. Damn this young boy. So, young master, you want to fight with me? The spring and autumn god king gritted his teeth, his eyes extremely cold. You're flattering yourself. You're still fighting me for 2 moves. It's good enough that you can withstand one of my moves. After hearing this, Nangong Chen said with disdain. At this moment, Su Li reminded him from behind that Aunt Su was fine. Nangong Chen nodded secretly, his eyes flashing. It seems that I can enter the palace now. You're such a sharp-tongued brat. Today, I'm going to teach you a lesson on behalf of Tianyuan Mansion. The spring and autumn god king couldn't bear it anymore and attacked Nangong Chen directly. Young master, do you need me to take action? In the void, Mu Lao saw this scene and also transmitted the message. No, it just so happens that I can test my strength after breaking through to the great power. Nangong Chen refused confidently, with an air of invincibility. Teach me a lesson on behalf of Tianyuan Mansion? You, old eunuch, are you worthy enough? Immediately afterwards, Nangong Chen sneered, and the aura on his body continued to rise, showing his great power cultivation without reservation. Now that he has mastered so many divine skills, coupled with his double pupils, cross-border combat is too easy for him. After everyone felt this breath, they were also shocked. He actually made another breakthrough. You know, he is an 18-year-old powerful man. Su Ming was stunned for a moment, as if he had sensed it wrongly. He sensed it again and then fell into silence for a long time. He seemed to remember that a few months ago, Nangong Chen was still at the Purple Mansion, but now he was at the same level of cultivation as him. Wang Xian laughed heartily. Great, what a monster, cultivating at such a speed. The spring and autumn divine king was also a little stunned, but he quickly reacted and sneered, so what if I help you break through to the great power? The gap between the great power and the divine king is not something that can be bridged so easily. He looked disdainful and condescending. After seeing this, some neutral forces hiding in the dark also shook their heads and said, yes, the spring and autumn divine king is a veteran divine king. Although the young master has broken through to the great power realm, it is still difficult. The gap between a god king and a powerful being is as vast as the difference between heaven and earth. Young master, angering him like this is only bad for you. Down below, Aunt Su saw this and looked worried. She said cautiously, I'm so sorry for being a burden to you. Otherwise, let that adult leave. Su Li's beautiful face smiled slightly, her beautiful eyes fixed on Nangong Chen's figure, and she said confidently, Auntie, don't worry, he will definitely win. Su Li knew that Nangong Chen never did anything without confidence. That's right. Several women also echoed. Some forces that have always been at odds with Tianyuan Mansion sneered when they saw this scene. What an idiot. It seems that the so-called person with double pupils will perish here today. Chapter 95, kill instantly with one move, shocking the whole audience. I, Zifu, have already killed a divine king. You will be next. Nangong Chen said indifferently in a cold voice, his white clothes fluttering and his temperament extraordinary. When his eyes opened and closed, there was an invincible momentum. After these words were spoken, the spring and autumn god king looked a little stunned, then his face turned gloomy, and a chilling murderous intent burst out from his body, and he attacked Nangong Chen directly. Boom! The sky and the earth suddenly changed color, and the spring and autumn god king sacrificed a green gourd with a deep light coming out of it. Then, he chanted a spell, and thousands of ghosts flew out of it. This is the cursed soul gourd, the natal magic weapon of the spring and autumn god king. The entire gourd is filled with evil spirits, and those ghosts are all resentful souls drawn from the extremely dangerous dungeon. After thousands of years of gestation, they have become extremely powerful evil spirits. For a moment, these ghosts howled like ghosts, their facial features were distorted, their resentment was soaring to the sky, and their eyes showed a pair of red murderous light, echoing throughout the world. When everyone saw this scene, they couldn't help but feel a little nervous and their faces turned pale. This is a unique skill created by the spring and autumn god king himself. Hundreds of ghosts can bind souls. These ghosts can surround and kill the opponent. The most terrifying thing is that they can tear the opponent's souls off. A powerful god king once died from this move. These tactics are extremely vicious, which is why few people in the palace have been enemies with the spring and autumn god king over the years, because the enemies have all been refined into ghosts. The onlookers shook their heads secretly. Unless Nangong Chen could use a powerful weapon, it would be difficult to resist the attack of these ghosts in such a short time. Go! The spring and autumn god king sneered and commanded these ghosts to attack Nangong Chen. He wanted to see what this kid could use to block this move. You know, at the same level, even the god king would be wary. In an instant, ghosts filled the sky, blocking out the sun and rushing straight towards Nangong Chen, like a swarm of bees. When Su Li and the others below saw this, they couldn't help but look worried in their beautiful eyes. Nangong Chen was calm and composed when he saw the scene, his expression did not change at all. He was dressed in a peerless white robe, and his pair of double pupils were shocking for eternity, like a young king. There was a sneer on his lips, and with a wave of his hand, the sky was covered with dark clouds and lightning flashed, like a huge sea of thunder. Countless lightning flashes were jumping, bringing a strong sense of oppression. Thunder tribulations are naturally able to restrain all evil spirits in the world and destroy everything, let alone the ancestor of thunder, the magic of the Thunder Emperor. At this moment, lightning was jumping on Nangong Chen's fingertips, his black hair was flying, and countless lightning bolts were intertwined behind him, making him look like the supreme master of thunder. This kind of power was too shocking. When everyone saw it, their pupils shrank slightly and their expressions froze. What kind of thunder technique is this that can actually summon such an astonishing thunder tribulation? Someone couldn't help but exclaimed, his tone full of shock. When those forces that were on good terms with Tianyuan Mansion saw this, they were very surprised. Those forces that had previously been pessimistic about Nangong Chen now felt somewhat humiliated and gritted their teeth, saying, even if he can summon such a thunder tribulation, so what? The gap in realm is so huge, it's just useless. Is this really the case? Boom! The next moment, divine thunder descended from the sky, and the white light was shocking, transforming into tens of millions of thunder dragons, their bodies flashing with lightning, bursting out with unprecedented power, and rushing straight down. This scene is really too scary. Compared with it, these ghosts are like dwarfs. This is the nine heavens tribulation light. Nangong Chen said in a cold voice, his eyes flashing like cold lightning, his face stern. The spring and autumn god king's face turned pale, and a hint of shock welled up in his eyes. He had not expected that a junior at the level of a powerful being could actually use such an earth-shattering thunder technique. As soon as he finished speaking, endless white light burst out, and the entire sky turned white. Everyone was illuminated by this astonishing white light and closed their eyes. The spring and autumn god king looked unwilling and wanted to call back these ghosts, but found that they had already lost contact. And what greeted him next was the divine thunder in the sky. He opened his eyes wide, cold sweat broke out, and a hint of fear appeared in his heart. You will die. If you take this move, you will definitely die. At this moment, the most instinctive thought appeared in the heart of the spring and autumn god king. However, no matter how hard he tried, he was still unable to resist and was drowned in the white light. After a long time, everyone opened their eyes and were shocked by the scene in front of them. I saw a charred corpse laying quietly in front of the palace, and the cursed soul gourd in his hand also turned into ashes. From the blurred facial features of the charred corpse, it was not difficult to see that it was the spring and autumn god king. Even the soul is annihilated in this mighty thunder method, and there is no hope of survival. And in the void, that peerless figure in white was still standing there, and that youthful face made everyone present dare not ignore it. After seeing this, some people couldn't help but swallow their saliva and were shocked. With just one move, he actually killed a veteran god king realm powerhouse. Is he still in the great power realm? Below, Suli's beautiful eyes shone with a strange light, and she was also quite shocked in her heart. This guy has become stronger again. Even if she had a being above the immortal king to teach her and possessed a divine body, she would not dare to claim that she could kill a divine king with one move. When Shi Yao saw this, her charming and enchanting eyes couldn't help but reveal a hint of shock. This boy's future achievements are unimaginable. He has double pupils and the chaos Dao fruit to build an unparalleled foundation. Even in the nine heavens, few people can reach this level. Deep in the void, a graceful figure could not help but smile. She was so beautiful that even the heaven and earth seemed a little dim. There was a bronze ghost face mask hanging around her waist. It was not difficult to see that it was the person who had helped Nangong Chen before. Such rapid progress. My nephew has truly given me such a big surprise. I wonder what my sister's expression will be when she finds out about it in the 9th day. It's truly exciting. She opened her red lips slightly and her voice was sweet and melodious, like a fairy song from heaven. Then, she set her eyes on Shi Yao again, her beautiful eyes revealing deep meaning, without saying much. At this moment, the whole place was silent, and everyone looked at Nangong Chen as if they were looking at a monster. Su Ming and Wang Xiong looked at each other, swallowed their saliva, and couldn't hide the shock in their eyes. They kept drinking tea. It took a long time to react. My son-in-law is so fucking fierce. Su Ming cursed for the first time in shock. Wang Xiong, who was standing by, kept muttering, my dear daughter, you must cling to the young master. Whether our Wang family can get a share of the pie in the future depends entirely on you. After seeing this, those forces supporting Tianyuan Mansion became even more resolute in their hearts, determined to serve Tianyuan Mansion faithfully in the future. They would never have second thoughts. Those who had previously spoken ill of Nangong Chen now looked ashamed and ugly, and kept cursing the spring and autumn god king in their hearts. What a waste. He can't even beat a powerful person. How shameful. But the most shocked people were the civilians. Chapter 96, Killing the Emperor. When the common people in front of the palace saw this, they couldn't help but kneel down and kowtow devoutly. They had never seen such a scene before and thought it was an immortal descending to earth. Please help us, immortal. We just want to know how our child is doing in the palace since he has been missing for so long. Yes, immortal, please help us, we just want to see our child. These people kept muttering, their bodies trembling, praying that Nangong Chen could hear them. Aunt Su, who was next to Suli, also knelt down and kowtowed to Suli and the others after she realized what was happening. My immortal, my child is still in the palace, and his life or death is unknown. Please lead us to progress. Even if I have to work like a slave for you, I will do it. Aunt Su pleaded. She had never expected that the person who had helped her before would be such a person. After hearing this, Suli was also a little panicked and said, Auntie, please get up first. We will take you in to find your child later. At this moment, Nangong Chen slowly landed. Seeing how miserable they were, he sighed, and a burst of power came over him, helping them up. After feeling such magical power, these people looked at Nangong Chen with more piety and respect. My fellow villagers, I will take you into the palace today, don't worry. Nangong Chen responded. Just now, from these conversations, he understood the general situation. That is, the king of Dezhou ordered the conscription of their children, saying that they would go to the palace to study for 3 months. Now, 5 months have passed, and those children still have not come out. When he heard this, he secretly thought, oh no. Doesn't he know what King Zhou is like? He guessed that the skills King Zhou had demonstrated earlier might have been demonic. You know, in the so-called evil way, many people with evil intentions practice through killing or other cruel methods. This means that the children of these people are probably dead now. Thinking of this, Nangong Chen frowned, not knowing how to start speaking. After hearing Nangong Chen's promise, the civilians' faces were filled with excitement and joy, as if they were extremely grateful to Nangong Chen. Ansu was also about to kneel down and kowtow to Nangong Chen, but was stopped by Su Li. When Nangong Chen saw the scene, he seemed to want to say something but hesitated, but still didn't say it. That was just his guess. If that were really the case, and the king of Great Zhou did something like that, I'm afraid the entire people of Great Zhou would be demoralized. No matter what, the most urgent task is to kill the king of Zhou. Just at this moment, a black mass of Tianyuan army came from the sky, waving military flags in their hands. Each of them was wearing black armor, looking extremely domineering. When everyone saw the scene, they couldn't help but widen their eyes in surprise. The Tianyuan army has arrived. It seems that there will be big moves in Tianyuan Mansion today. Soon, 300,000 Tianyuan soldiers came to Nangong Chen, and even the Tianyuan soldiers who had previously gone to assist the Red Sword God King came back. The 8 generals also came before Nangong Chen and said respectfully, 300,000 Tianyuan troops have arrived, please give the order, young master. Young master, please give the order. 300,000 Tianyuan soldiers arrived in unison, their voices like a huge bell, echoing throughout the entire Great Zhou Palace, and even the surrounding eaves were shaking. When the city soldiers saw this scene, their legs became weak and their bodies trembled. They were all trained as independent cultivators, had never been to the battlefield, and had always stayed in the palace. How could they have seen such a scene? All troops, listen up. Follow me. Nangong Chen shouted loudly, his double pupils emitting a faint light, which was extremely shocking. Yes. The Tianyuan army said in unison that their discipline was perfect. Afterwards, Nangong Chen led a large army and headed directly into the palace. After seeing this, General Chao also walked up to Nangong Chen and whispered, "Young master, you cannot bring troops into the palace without the order of the king of Zhou. But I can ask for your permission. I believe that as the young master, His Majesty will definitely allow it. By the way, young master, what is the purpose of your visit to the palace this time?" Seeing someone trying to stop them, the Tianyuan army became murderous and cast cold eyes on General Chao. For a moment, General Chao was sweating profusely. Nangong Chen slowly uttered 2 words, "Emperor Killer." After hearing these words, General Chao was stunned and stood there in a daze. The other city soldiers beside him also widened their eyes. Not only were they shocked, but at this moment, those forces that had been watching Nangong Chen were also shocked. They had guessed it in their hearts, but when Nangong Chen said it, they still found it difficult to react. Tianyuan Mansion really wants to kill King Zhou today. At this time, countless spies quickly left after receiving this information. They wanted to inform the forces behind the scenes that the situation in the Great Zhou was about to change. Make sure the forces behind you are prepared early. On the other side, Su Ming's eyes gleamed as he stroked his beard and said in a deep voice, "I didn't expect that Tianyuan Mansion would really take action against the king of Great Zhou. After today, the structure of Great Zhou will be reshuffled. Old Wang, be prepared." After hearing this, Wang Xiong laughed happily, "Oh, there is no need to make any preparations. Just let Yuxuan hold the young master's thighs tightly. This is the best preparation." After hearing this, Su Ming was completely speechless. This guy is really hopeless. By the time General Chao came to his senses, the Tianyuan army had already gone far away. In the palace, When the servants and guards saw Nangong Chen and his group coming, they all wanted to scream, their faces filled with fear. But he was soon subdued by the Tianyuan army and fainted. Not long after, under the leadership of Zhou Wan'er, everyone arrived at a magnificent palace. "Seventh princess, is this the place?" Nangong Chen asked. Zhou Wan'er nodded and looked towards the palace with hatred in her eyes. She would never forget the hiding place of the king of Zhou in her life. Nangong Chen nodded, then gave a look to the Tianyuan army beside him. Boom! The gate was destroyed in an instant. In an instant, the stench of a rotting corpse emanated from it. The civilians who followed were also stunned when they saw the scene before them.